And thank you for the surgery. Same here. Although I
mean, as he was falling, I called 911 and they took him to Doctor's Hospital. And that's a very good place.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And the care there was great. They have an orthopedic
Thank you.
floor. So he was up there, they knew what they were talking about. He had physical therapy starting the day after surgery. And they said, you need to stand up. And he went, no. They said, no, you need to stand up. So he did. Pretty amazing.
Are we good? Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board. We're residents of Coral Gables and are charged with the preservation and protection of historic or architecturally worthy buildings, structures, sites, neighborhoods, and artifacts, which impart a distinctive historical heritage to our city. The board is comprised of 9 members, 7 of whom are appointed by the Commission, 1 by the City Manager, and the 9th is selected by the board and confirmed by the Commission. 5 members of the board constitute a quorum, and 5 affirmative votes are necessary for the adoption of any motion. I'd like to introduce the members here on the board. To my left, on the far right, is Mr. Durana, followed by Ms. Everett, Ms. Rolando, Mr. Silva. On my right, Ms. Spain, and Ms. Alvarez. Lobbyist registration and disclosure. Any person who acts as a lobbyist pursuant to the City of Coral Gables Ordinance number 2006-11 must register with the city clerk prior to engaging in lobbying activities or presentations before city staff, boards, committees, and/or the City Commission. A copy of the ordinance is available in the office of the city clerk. Failure to register and provide proof of registration shall prohibit your ability to present to the Historic Preservation Board on applications under consideration this afternoon. Lobbyist is defined as an individual, corporation, partnership, or other legal entity employed or retained, whether paid or not, by a principal who seeks to encourage the approval, disapproval, adoption, repeal, passage, defeat, or modification of any ordinance, resolution, action, or decision of any city commissioner, any action, decision, recommendation of the city manager, any city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial advisory board, trust, authority, or council, or any action, decision, or recommendation of city personnel during the time period of the entire decision-making process on the action, decision, or recommendation, which foreseeably will be heard or reviewed by the City Commission or a city board or committee, including but not limited to quasi-judicial, advisory board, trust, authority, or council. Presentations made to this board are subject to the city's False Claims Ordinance, Chapter 39 of the City of Coral Gables City Code. I now officially call the City of Coral Gables Historic Preservation Board meeting of May 14th, 2025 to order. The time is 4:10 p.m. I've already introduced to you the members of our board, and so I'd like to, and we also have with us our city staff, Ms. Kara Kauth, and city attorney, Ms. Stephanie. Okay, I'd like to call for the approval of minutes for the meeting held on April, whatever the minute date was, April 10th? Yes, the minutes of April 10th. Have a motion by Mr. Silva. Second, please. Second by Ms. Ebert. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Notice regarding ex parte communications. Please be advised that this board is a quasi-judicial board, and the items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature, which requires board members to disclose all ex parte communications. An ex parte communication is defined as any contact, communication, conversation, correspondence, memorandum, or other written or verbal communication that takes place outside a public hearing between a member of the public and a member of a quasi-judicial board regarding matters to be heard by the quasi-judicial board. If anyone has made any contact with a board member when the issue comes before the board member must state on the record the existence of the ex parte communication, the party who originated the communication, and whether the communication will affect the board member's ability to impartially consider the evidence to be presented regarding legal matters. Deferrals. Do we have any deferrals today?
No.
There are no deferrals today. Okay, we're going to swear in. Any persons in the audience who will be testifying or speaking on behalf or against something today, please rise to be sworn in. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on.
Mr. Chair, I do believe we have someone on Zoom, if we could swear them in as well.
Okay.
Right hand to be sworn. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Okay. No changes to the agenda. Okay, we're going to then open up with local historic designations. Okay. Local historic designation number 258940, case file LHD 2025-003. Consideration of the local historic designation of the property at 826 Medina Avenue, legally described as Lot 5, Block 4, Coral Gables, Granada, section revised, according to the plat thereof, Plat Book 8, page 113, Public Records, Miami-Dade.
Thank you. IT, if you can please, or CGTV, if you can please play the PowerPoint. Oh, do you want Elizabeth to say her?
Ms. Gwynn, if you could please state your name and introduction for the record.
CGTV, can you
The
help with
property at
the audio?
826 Medina Avenue is before you for consideration for designation as a local historic landmark. The historic significance determination application was submitted by the owner at the request of the Board of Architects. The single-family home was designed in December 1925 by architect Martin Hampton. As per Article 8, Section 8-103 of the Coral Gables Zoning Code, criteria for designation of historic landmarks, a local historic landmark must have significant character, interest, or value as part of the historical, cultural, archaeological, aesthetic, or architectural heritage of the city, state, or nation. For designation, a property must meet one of the criteria outlined in the code. 826 Medina Avenue is eligible as a local historic landmark based on 3 criteria. Historical cultural significance. Criteria 4. It exemplifies the historical, cultural, political, economic, or social trends of the community. And architectural significance. Criteria 1. It portrays the environment and era of history characterized by one or more distinctive architectural style. And criteria 2. It embodies those distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style or period or method of construction. The property at 826 Medina Avenue is on a 50-foot by 100-foot lot in the Granada section. On the property is a single-family home and a detached garage with living quarters. Both were constructed in early 1926, and they retain their original style and character to present date. Coral Gables was originally conceived as a suburb of Miami and attracted investors from across the nation during the South Florida real estate boom of the 1920s. Founder George Merrick drew from the Garden City and City Beautiful movements of the 19th and early 20th century to create his vision for a fully conceived, Mediterranean-inspired city. It is now considered one of the first modern planned communities in the United States. The city's developmental history is divided into three major historical periods. During the initial developmental period, architectural design specifically combined elements commonly used in Spanish, Moorish, and Italian architecture, and is now known as the Mediterranean Revival style. The home at 826 Medina Avenue was designed by Martin Hampton, a member of Merrick's design team. It espouses Merrick's Mediterranean ideals and is an early example of what is now known as the Coral Gables cottage. The 1921 map on the left shows the layout of Coral Gables when the lots first went on sale in November of 1921. Initial sales were the direct vicinity of Merrick's homestead in Section A, circled here in red. Sales were very successful, and the remainder of the land was divided into sections B through I, as seen in the map on the right, and offered for sale through 1922. As sales took off, Merrick looked to expand his land holdings. Records indicate that he expended a tremendous amount of time extending his holdings north to the Tamiami Trail in the area highlighted in purple. Note that he initially only held the lots on either side of Granada Boulevard, denoted as Section F. By fall 1923, Section F, which is highlighted here in green, was significantly expanded. Merrick renamed the area the Granada section and redirected hundreds of workers to lay street sidewalks and water mains. In the Granada section, Merrick began to develop streetscapes following Garden City precepts, which accommodated housing for various incomes. Unlike the earlier sections, it was platted with large areas allocated for smaller, moderately priced homes. To showcase his vision, Merrick commissioned architects H. George Fink, Martin Hampton, and Louis Brum to design 58 Mediterranean-inspired homes to demonstrate that, though smaller, the moderately priced homes in Coral Gables would have the same quality construction and aesthetic as the larger homes. Merrick stated that these 58 homes would, quote, embody new and radical departures from the usual type of small house designing, with compactness, beauty, and comfort that will appeal to smaller families. Each home will be a different, finely detailed design, end quote. The one-story homes were the first of what later would be classified as the Coral Gables cottage. As intended, these homes provided a model for and sparked interest in building moderately priced homes. 826 Medina Avenue was one of the smaller homes that followed. Commissioned by real estate investor J.M. Shapiro, it was permitted in December of 1925 and under construction by mid-January 1926. This moderately sized one-story home was designed by Martin Hampton, who, as just mentioned, was a member of Merrick's original design team, who crafted the Mediterranean aesthetic in the city, and was also one of the three architects Merrick hired to design the first homes in this genre. Hampton designed the home at 826 Medina Avenue as a two-bedroom home with a front screened porch and a rear screened entry and sleeping porches. The detached garage also provided a maid's quarter. The original plans have not been located to date. Merrick chose to develop Coral Gables as a Mediterranean-inspired city because he felt that this type of architecture harmonized best with the South Florida's climate and lifestyle. The home includes many character-defining features of Mediterranean Revival style, which include, but are not limited to, those shown here and are discussed in further detail in the Historic Designation Report. Of particular note are the decorative columns supporting the arches on the front porch bay, the belfry-inspired chimney, the combination of roof types with the pitched roofs clad in barrel tile, the textured stucco, the masonry swooped hood and corbel entry ensemble, and the wing wall. The one-story house is built of masonry block units above a crawl space and is clad in textured stucco. Rectangular in plan, the living space is primarily under a flat roof with simple parapets. The street-facing pitched roofs are clad with barrel tile. The tile was originally a two-piece barrel tile, and the current S tile was installed in 2020. The windows throughout the home are recessed with protruding sills. On the side facades, the original decoratively arranged round vents above the windows remain extant. Building permits indicate that the original casement windows were changed to jalousies in 1958. Currently, the windows are predominantly awning in type, with a few single hungs at the rear of the home. The permits for these later windows have not been located to date. The asymmetrical front facade has two bays, an entry bay under salt box gable roof, and a shed roof bay that originally was the screened front porch. The front door is centered under the gable end of the salt box roof. Above the front door is a masonry swooped hood with a molded base set on scrolled corbels. In the gable face above the hood is a circular vent with a smooth-faced frame. At the northwest corner of the home is a wing wall that visually continues the asymmetry of the salt box roof and also aids in extending the street presence of the cottage. As seen in the circa 1945 historic photo, the wing wall was a stepped configuration. It was altered at an unknown date. Rising near the juncture of the three roofs is the distinctive bell tower-inspired chimney. The slender rectangular chimney with the cutout openings and gable roof cap is reminiscent of a mission belfry. Until recently, the cap was clad in barrel tile. The front porch bay has a series of round arched openings, with three facing the street and one on the east side facade. The street-facing arches are supported by decorative columns and sit on a molded sill similar to the entry hood base. The original screen porch, as seen in the historic photo, was enclosed in 1958 with the installation of jalousie windows. The arched portions were partially infilled to accept the rectangular windows, but retained the arched recess, hence keeping the fenestration pattern on the front facade. On the east facade, as seen in the left photo, the rectangular portion of the opening has been infilled at an unknown date. However, the arched recess and the sill are extant, thus marking the opening. Except for the window type change, the side facades retain their original configurations. The rear facade has a protruding bay that likely comprised of two screened porches, a back entry porch and a sleeping porch. Both were enclosed for living space at an unknown date. The sleeping porch is last mentioned in a 1951 sales ad. Hence, it's likely that it was enclosed in 1958 during the awning window campaign. The screened opening of the sleeping porch was reduced, but the change in the stucco textures clearly elucidates the original opening. A detached garage accessory building is located at the southwest corner of the property. It contains a one-car garage space and living quarter space, and a storage room addition. The change in stucco indicates the size of the vehicular opening was reduced in height. The adjacent living quarters is likely original to the structure. In the early 1930s, rental ads described the garage as including a servant's quarters. In the 1940s, it was allocated as a rental unit for military personnel. It remains a living space to date. At the southeast corner of the accessory building is a small storage addition that was permitted in 1988. In conclusion, constructed in early 1926, the single-family residence at 826 Medina Avenue exemplifies founder George Merrick's vision for a Mediterranean-inspired planned city. In late 1923, Merrick purposely platted the Granada section following Garden City precepts of offering housing for different level incomes. He commissioned moderately affordable homes to showcase his intention that though smaller, these homes would also have the same high-quality construction and features as other structures. As intended, these initial homes led to building of modest residences in the Granada section, as well as throughout the city. Many of these homes are now classified as a Coral Gables cottage. 826 Medina Avenue was one of these homes. The architect of 826 Medina Avenue was Martin Hampton. A member of Merrick's original design team, he aided in crafting the Mediterranean aesthetic in Coral Gables. Hampton was also one of the architects handpicked by Merrick to design the first of the cottages, and he played a significant role in development of this genre in the city. 826 Medina Avenue is representative of Hampton's Mediterranean revival style and work in the cottage genre. The property at 826 Medina Avenue retains its historic integrity and significantly contributes to the historic fabric of Coral Gables. It is part of a collection of quality residences built during the land boom era that contributes to the city's sense of place over time. Staff recommends approval of the local historic designation of 826 Medina Avenue based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance.
So this application came to us from the Board of Architects as a significance determination. We are in favor of the designation. I don't believe the owner is on Zoom or here, but we have been working with them to guide them through the process, and they will probably be coming before you for a COA in the near future.
I'm sorry, so there's no objection by the owner?
No, not that we're aware of.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of this case this time? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Okay, if not, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, any discussion?
I'm in favor of the designation.
It's a great house.
Yeah.
It has everything that a cottage has. It even has an extra living space that's legal in the back.
Checks it all off.
You know, you can't get now, so that's very cool. I'm obviously in favor of the designation.
And what an improvement, is this on? And what an improvement
It's
from
not
the
on.
I have a different mic than in here. And what an improvement from the 1980 picture.
Right.
I mean, really, somebody's really spent a lot of time on this one, yes. Lovely. I love it.
Yeah, Martin Hampton was a very significant architect in this community. I mean, designing things from the administration building and finally hotel in Miami Springs that we all know. Plus, he did the original City Hall in Miami Beach and a number of other buildings. Hampton did a very interesting building in downtown Miami for the Realty Securities Corporation, which was owned by Hugh Anderson, and or the Shoreland Company, which was owned by Hugh Anderson. And you'll all notice that Anderson Road here, close to where you live, is in that honor. Okay, any further discussion about this?
I have a question for staff. Just a question. I think the house looks great and they did a nice job. The arch windows in the front, if they were ever to change those in the future, would we ask them to go to like a full arch?
We think it would help significantly.
Yeah, right.
Because it sort of
agree.
it cuts the arch in a weird place, and it's such a beautiful long arch.
I think it's all it's missing is
Yeah.
those three front windows. If they could do that, that'd be great. But
Yeah,
either way,
we thought the
it's a
same
beautiful
thing.
house.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, I'd like to have a motion, please.
I move that we approve the local historic designation of 826 Medina Avenue, legally described as Lot 5, Block 4, Coral Gables, Granada, section revised, based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance.
Thank you, Ms. Rolando. A second, please.
I'll second it.
Ms. Alvarez. Okay, we have a motion by
That
Ms.
was Miss Spain.
Ms. Spain. Are you throwing your voice to cover for Ms. Alvarez?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I've been
I
practicing.
apologize. Okay, motion by Ms. Rolando, second by Ms. Spain. Please call the question.
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Durana,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Ponce,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Mr. Silva, and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes. Let the record please show that Mr. Garcia Pons has joined us. Okay. Our next file is 258941, case file LHD 2024-015 and COA SP 2025-10 for the consideration of the local historic designation of the property at 2716 Cordova Street, legally described as Lot 12, and the east one half of Lot 13, Block 15, Coral Gables, Section A, according to the plat Book 5, page 102, Public Records, Miami-Dade County. The applicant is also requesting the issuance of an accelerated special certificate of appropriateness and design approval for additions and alterations to the residence and site work. A variance has been requested from Section 2-101D4C of the Coral Gables zoning code for a minimum rear setback.
So we're only taking the designation at this point. It'll be
right.
two separate items, two separate votes. And Stephanie
Thank you.
wanted to add.
Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is on. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to, if you don't mind, before Ms. Carbonell comes up, give you a little bit of the procedural posture of where we are with this designation. It's coming to you in a little bit of a different format than it normally does. So if you'll indulge me with just giving you a little bit of background.
Of course.
The city's historic preservation staff issued a significance determination letter to the property owners a few months ago at this point, providing that it did not meet historic significance determination by staff. It was appealed by a third party, not the property owner, who is presenting today the designation for your consideration. The standards are the same, the code provisions are the same, but it is not staff bringing forward the application for designation, it is the third party. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware that the standards are the same, it's the same criteria. Ms. Carbonell has prepared a report, which is part of your packet, which should address the same points that a staff report would be. So I just wanted to make that clear. And as Ms. Couts pointed out, their applicant has prepared an accelerated SCOA. So should there be a determination made today as to the significance of the property, we will then move to that item. But I just wanted to be clear that it will not be historic preservation staff providing a designation report or information about the property. They are, of course, here to answer any questions as needed, but I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Ms. Toothaker. Okay, can we have the presentation?
So it's the Ms. Carbonell is the one presenting the
Ms. Carbonell,
designation
would you like to
for your
come up?
consideration.
I'm curious, there's a staff report that appears to have been prepared by the city staff.
That's for the accelerated certificate of appropriateness. So
Okay.
after the designation or the determination was appealed and they submitted a designation report, the homeowner, the current homeowner, it was sold, decided to work within the parameters of being historic, even though it wasn't already. So we've prepared an accelerated COA in the anticipation or in the abundance of caution that if you designate the building, we will take the COA forward at the same meeting.
And is it this report that was prepared?
For the designation, yes.
Nation?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Carbonell? Okay.
Can you hear me? Okay. The significance determination letter was included in our agenda item, and I was under the impression that now that there needed to be a reason why it didn't meet the criteria. Am I wrong on that?
The backup materials are to be made available to requesters who want to know what material was considered in making that
Oh, I see.
designation. And I believe those materials were presented and provided as requested.
But we don't have those materials in our file.
I believe they're referenced in the designation letter, and I would assume, and I won't answer for Ms. Carbonell, that many of those same materials were used in her determination, her staff report as well.
Okay.
It's her application, so she provided what materials she thought were relevant.
I understand,
for you to
but
consider.
I'm curious as to why staff thought that it did not meet the criteria. And if they had backup material to support the letter that they wrote, I would like to see that. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, so noted.
Would you like, do I need to respond?
Pardon me?
Do you want me to respond?
I would love that.
I did not write the determination. I was not consulted on the determination, but it was issued with whatever research the director had pulled, which is what Ms. Carbonell referenced
Right.
when she pulled down to make her
Okay.
determination. So it's available online. All of the determinations are posted on our
I
webpage.
saw that, and is the
There's a
is the
link.
material also online?
Yes, there's a
Oh,
link
okay.
there's a link to both the letter and the backup material that was used.
Thank you.
But again, that was not presented as part of the application today, so I would ask that you only consider the information
get it.
provided today.
I get it, I get it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Carbonell, would you please come forward, state your name and address? Thank you for coming today.
If you can put the PowerPoint back up, please.
We're going to have a person presenting on Zoom.
The person is presenting on Zoom.
Dr. Gillis.
If there's going to be somebody presenting on Zoom on behalf of the applicant, they need to be sworn in. They need to be appearing on camera and provide that testimony and be sworn in.
He's on. He told me he was on.
Is there somebody on Zoom asking to speak?
Yes.
Ms. Carbonell, in the meantime, please state your name and address
Yes,
for the record.
I lost a little thing here. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Most of you know me, but my name is Carelia Martinez Carbonell, and I am president of the Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a little brief history about our organization, sort of credential the organization. Then I will read a letter from our architectural historian who is supporting this designation. And then Dr. Gillis will jump in, and then he will go through the report. Okay? Our organization was established in 1991. We have really, in the last over 3 decades, we have built a solid past, but also a very solid present and future. Our mission, we're actually living our mission right this minute, is to promote the importance of historic resources and their preservation. The Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables started out as a historic homeowners association of Coral Gables and routinely provided owners of local historic houses with a resource list to provide assistance with the renovation of their historic home. In 2008, the group embarked on a new direction and embraced a new mission, prompting the name change, the Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables. In over 3 decades, HPACG has achieved outstanding success in historic preservation efforts. In carrying out its mission, HPACG has effectively communicated the value of historic preservation to its membership and the larger community. Through its promotional activities, HPACG has exhibited leadership in issues of importance to historic preservation and has established itself as one of the leaders in statewide preservation advocacy. The Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables has taken an active role in partnering with the city's historic preservation efforts. Members of our organization have been active in supporting applicants for special certificates of appropriateness, variances from the zoning code, and the determination of historic designation. Moreover, HPACG disseminates information of the local tax incentives available to owners of historic properties. Now, I'd like to read you a quote from a former HPACG board member and the past architectural historian for the National Register of Historic Places. And he observes, quote, "Without reservation, it is a highly apparent that the Historic Preservation Association of Coral Gables has demonstrated superlative achievement in the field of preservation and has espoused the National Trust for Historic Preservation's ideal to save America's historic places. The focus of HPACG throughout its existence is indicative of its desire to protect properties that convey special sense of time and place." Now I will read, and you have it in your packet, but it's from Dr. David McKinney, and he wrote a letter of support, and I'd love to read it into the record. And this is regarding 2716 Cordova Street, Coral Gables, Florida. And he says, "After reviewing the documentation of the residents at 2716 Cordova Street, it is clear that the property possesses the integrity of location, design, setting, materials, and workmanship to establish its historic significance and warrant its designation in accordance with the City of Coral Gables guidelines. Although larger houses are frequently deemed iconic and attract the public's interest, smaller residences more often capture the character of the communities in which they are constructed and represent their period. This is true of 2716 Cordova Street. The residence is also illustrative of architect William Shanklin Jr.'s melding of traditional and modern elements in his domestic commissions. In addition, its original owner, C.C. Patterson, while not an outstanding figure in the history of the city or the region, typifies the individual that was driving the development of this building type in Coral Gables and across South Florida during the 1930s. In short, the residence is a snapshot of 1930s residential design in the region. Shanklin's influence on South Florida is significant, especially in small house design, with his residences in Coral Gables, Miami Beach, and Miami Shores being designated according to these localities' historic preservation criteria. In 1935, Shanklin opened his own firm in Coral Gables, and his commissions in the city ranged from single-family houses to commercial structures. His designs for residences received national attention, and as stated in the Miami Daily News, April 1939, brought laurels to both city and architect, thus establishing the image of Coral Gables in the public's mind beyond the region. His residence for William Doxey was featured in the April 1939 issue of House Beautiful. The Cordova Street residents demonstrate how his modern treatment and home building harmonizes with the old Spanish style characteristic of Coral Gables. So he ends, "I hope this brief statement is helpful in the designation process." And of course, you have his curriculum vitae in your packet. I now I will conclude my presentation and introduce Dr. Brett Gillis. Is he on?
Is Mr. Gillis sworn in? When he comes up, please do so. Here we go.
There it is.
Okay.
Okay, so just a little, obviously, we all know Dr. Gillis. He is a former HPACG board member, and he will present the designation report for 2716 Cordova Street.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr. Gillis? Please be sworn in. Raise your right hand.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
CGTV, if we could please get assistance in being able to hear Mr. Gillis.
He's in the car, so that may make it difficult.
Is it on his end or this end? Is it our end?
Excuse us, for those of you that are a little bit older, you'll remember in the television station it said, "Stand by, we're having technical difficulties."
I do remember that.
Right. Ms. Carbonell, if we're not able to have the presentation, are you able to take over for that?
Yes, I have the
Okay.
presentation.
We might want to do that in just a moment, just in the interest of time. We'll give it just a couple of more minutes if that's all right with you.
Mr. Maxwell, you're more than welcome to take a few-minute recess if you'd like while we get this set up, or if that's your preference, or we can just wait, as you prefer.
We have a reasonably lengthy agenda, and I understand that there's people that have time certain, so if it's all right with you, Ms. Carbonell,
I certainly could pitch in. I'll be
we
the
all
pinch
know
hitter.
we all know Mr. Gillis's qualifications. He's eminently qualified,
I just,
and we're very
wait for him not
respectful
to
of
be
his
able to do
opinion.
this.
We can wait a few minutes, or you can proceed
Okay.
if you'd like.
Why
but
don't you just go on, if
You
you
want me
would,
to
please?
start?
Would you please?
Okay, so I'll start, and if he can then jump in. I'll go right page one through. The legal description of the residence is Lot 12, east half of Lot 13, Block 15, Coral Gables, Section A, according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 5, page 102 of the Public Records of Miami-Dade County, Florida. This is for 2716 Cordova Street, Coral Gables, Florida. It's the little house that could.
Would you please pull the microphone down just a little bit closer to you? Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
okay? The date of construction, it is, the original permit number is 5650, and it was originally 1101 Sevilla Avenue. So again, it was, the addresses, there's a little change there. The date of construction, 1938. The original architect, William Shanklin Jr. The original builder, George E. Batchelor. It's a one-story, single-family residence. The architectural style is minimal traditional. And the site characteristics, the property is located on the northwest corner at the intersection of Cordova Street and Sevilla Avenue in the city of Coral Gables, 1 block from the historic DeSoto Fountain and Venetian Pool in the iconic Biltmore neighborhood. And this is a report for determination of significance. The single-family residence at 2716 Cordova Street was designed by architect William Shanklin and constructed by builder George Batchelor in the minimal traditional style. Permitted and built in 1938, it is amongst the very few homes constructed in the city in response to the ethos of the lean, Great Depression, New Deal era. As construction in the Gables began to slowly uptick once again after the devastating Great Miami Hurricane of 1926, stock market crash of 1929, Great Depression and resultant collapse of the Great Florida land boom of the 1920s, the 1930s brought about a significant shift away from the elaborate and ornate Mediterranean style of architecture that predominated during the prior decade in favor of sleeker, simpler architectural treatment to match the times. In doing so, Coral Gables began to follow national housing trends that responded to the economics and culture of a new architectural era, resulting in the construction of minimal traditional homes. Acclaimed architectural historian Virginia McAllister affirms, the minimal traditional house was a well-studied and thoughtful response to the most challenging conditions ever to affect home construction in the United States. End of quote. Thoughtfully acknowledging the city's quaint Old Spanish and Mediterranean foundation while embracing modernistic tones and beauty in simplicity, the residence at 2716 Cordova was one of the first homes in the city to explore this style, and in doing so, ushered in the spirit and sensibilities of a new era in the history of Coral Gables. It retains its historic integrity and serves as a visible reminder of the history, cultural heritage, and architecture of the city. To qualify for designation as a local historic landmark, the Coral Gables zoning code states that individual properties must have significant character, interest, or value as part of the historical, cultural, architectural, aesthetic, or architectural heritage of the city, state, or nation. Furthermore, a property must meet at least one criteria outlined in the code to be historically designated. 2716 Cordova meets 3 of the criteria: historical cultural significance. Criterion 4 exemplifies the historical, cultural, political, economic, or social trends of the community. And architectural significance, criterion 1, portrays the environment in an era of history characterized by one or more distinctive architectural styles. And criterion 2 embodies those distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style or period or method of construction. The code clearly states that if the property meets the criteria, then the Historic Preservation Board shall designate the property as a local historic landmark. Therefore, be it resolved that 2716 Cordova should be designated as a local historic landmark based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance to the historic fabric and built environment of the city of Coral Gables. As part of the unique collection of resources that captures the city spirit in the era in which it was constructed, this residence portrays the city's history and sense of place over time and is a valuable, non-renewable historic and environmental resource that should be preserved. Introduction. Coral Gables Register of Historic Places, Preserving the City Story. The built environment reflects the beliefs, values, creative expressions, and technical capacity at a place and time in history. Historic preservation conserves those structures and spaces that tell the story of the community's historic past. The local landmarks that comprise the Coral Gables Register of Historic Places portray the city's story of progress, change, and preservation. They are valuable, non-renewable resources that embody our collective heritage. The retention of these tangible touchstones provides a sense of community, identity, evolution, ownership, and place. In other words, these historic resources provide continuity and context and thus form the foundation of the city's identity. Coral Gables is a certified local government and as such must maintain a register of historic places and abide by associated preservation standards. The City of Coral Gables participated in the certification process jointly administered by the National Park Service and the State Historic Preservation Offices to become recognized as a certified local government. In doing so, the community gains access to benefits of the program and agrees to follow required federal and state requirements. The City of Coral Gables was certified in 1986 and was one of the first cities in Florida to become a CLG. As a CLG, the city is required to identify and protect those resources that contribute to the story of the city over time.
Okay.
Furthermore, the city must abide by the federal regulations as put forth in the Secretary of the Interior's standards.
Ms.
Now you'll see
Carbonell,
the map
Mhm,
where
right.
the,
Can you summarize a little bit on here? I mean, we've received the report that you in the packet.
yes.
Mr. Chair, if I can just chime in for a minute, we're still working with IT. There's an issue with the sound in this room, but separately, it looks like Mr. Gillis's signal is very weak and they're not receiving an audio from him, but they're continuing to work on it. So if you hear someone jump in,
Yeah, we can just
hopefully we got
continue
it working.
for the sake of time.
And this
I just
report-
I don't want it to, if I don't want to rush through it and I don't want it to affect the ultimate, obviously, vote, but I will see what is
Thank you.
significant.
We have that, right?
You have it.
That's what we read, okay.
Let me just go through it. I do want to point out that the architect, William Shacklin, has 14 of his works designated in Coral Gables. So he is really one of the major architects. I really wanted to put that in there.
By the way, the report was very good.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much for
was-
putting that together for us.
Well, it
Perhaps
was,
if you'll- you
Dr.
could-
Gillis was very much part of it.
Dr. Gillis always does good work.
He does.
Perhaps you'd give us the summary of the significance, in relation to the code, and then we can.
So I'm going to read the conclusion, and then
Thank you.
we'll be done. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this by saying, in 1921, founder George Merrick said, Coral Gables is not a thing of the moment, of the year, or even of the passing period, but a wonderful monument to the achievement of worthwhile perseverance in the creation of beauty and the bringing true of dreams that will as solidly endure and as beautifully and bountifully age as does the everlasting coral upon which this master development is founded. 2716 Cordova Street is part of this history, part of this culture, part of this architectural heritage. The tapestry of Coral Gables. And like the little engine that could, this minimal traditional house is the little house that could. It hadn't been over the mountain and wasn't sure what it was capable of, but in its simplicity and compassion for its era, it was successful and has stood the test of time, just like the little engine. So our recommendation is for approval of local historic landmark designation of the residence located at 2716 Cordova Street in Coral Gables, based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for bringing this to us. It's very important.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Has any member had any ex parte communication or site visits to this? I will say that I have met the former owner who passed away. I've seen this house and lived close to it for a number of years, but that does not figure into any part of my decision-making. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes
Any
to speak
questions? No?
in addition favor to this?
Mr. Chair, if we could take a moment of your time to try the Zoom again. Mr. Gillis has jumped back in, but I just want to make sure, if possible, he has a chance to speak.
If we can, I know Mr. Gillis is, his comments are important. I believe that we've seen most of this already, and Mr. Gillis prepared an excellent report that we've all read in preparation of this. I know we have the time certain for some people, so in the interest of that, may we move forward? Okay. Ms. Kauth, do you have anything? Okay. All right. Board, discussion.
Right.
Hearing none, can I hear a motion for approval? There we go.
I think the report was very well written, so thank you for that. Thank you. I think the report was very well written, and the points that it addressed and that Ms. Carbonell's presentation addressed, I think really cut to the matter in terms of this house having these character-defining features that to me are very obvious and very clear. That it does meet the criteria for designation. The report lists in detail these character-defining features. I'm not going to go through them all, but they're all original, and most of them are still there. Right, the brickwork around the arches, the massing of the house is intact. This mix of full arches and flat arches, Really, the only thing that has been changed is the window style and the roof material, which are easily reversible things, right? So to me, based on the designation report and what I see in these images and what has been presented as evidence, I would be comfortable designating this.
I think it clearly meets the criteria. I mean, honestly, there's no question in my mind that it meets the criteria.
Thank you. Ms. Alvarez, did you have a question?
Does the homeowner or anyone in the homeowners group have anything they want to add to this? Or?
Okay.
No, we can add during our presentation, but we're in agreement. We like the house. We want to work with the house.
Thank you very much.
Those houses are making great things for architects. So great.
I'm sorry, can you state your name and address for the record? I'm sorry.
Peter Kaligian, PPKS Architects, 1330 Northwest 84th Avenue.
Thank you. Ms. Everett?
I lived for 10 years in a 1939 house. I like the fact that we'd be preserving something that there are very few of built in that period. So.
Okay. Any other member of the board? Ms. Rolando?
If the board is ready for a motion, I'm ready to make one.
I'd like to have your motion, please, Ms. Rolando.
Okay. I move to approve local historic designation for the property located at 2716 Cordova Street, based on its historical, cultural, and architectural significance. And the legal description of the property is Lot 12 in the east half of Lot 13, Block 15, Coral Gables, Section A, Plat Book 5, page 102. Then we were Dade County, not Miami-Dade.
Yay. All right. May I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Ms. Spain?
Yes.
All right. Very good. So we have a motion by Ms. Rolando, second by Ms. Spain. Would you call the question, please?
Ms. Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Durana?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Ms. Everett?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Ms. Spain?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion passes. The house is designated.
So I have another question, and I apologize. Process. So this letter to the homeowner was written on September the 12th, but it wasn't posted on the website until October something, October. And so what happened in between there? They got the letter, it's not, it's not designated, they went about their time, and then once it's posted, that's when the appeal is able to,
That's when the clock starts, yes.
oh.
Wonderful.
There are
And
some,
when is it posted?
so it should be posted as soon as possible after it's issued. There are some technological challenges with posting all of the backup material. We're looking at that. All of that has to be accessible and OCR'd, and that can be a very difficult technical task for staff to accomplish. So we're looking at ways to do that faster, or perhaps not provide the backup material online and wait for a request for that material. But the hosting of the material online does take a significant amount of time to get prepared to do. So I think that accounts for the delay in time, but I understand the frustration of a property owner or the public in that delay of time.
And when is the property actually physically posted? Because aren't we posting the property, the significance determinations? Oh, we're not.
Just online.
It's all done online.
Yeah. The
Oh.
postings are only for hearings like this one today. They're
Okay,
not
I
done for the
understand.
significance determination
I'm sorry.
process.
All right.
Well, it's a great house, so. And you have a very good architect, so I'm sure it'll turn out fine.
All right, moving on. I'm going to change the order here just a moment here. And I'd like to move case file COASP 2025 -011 for 112 Oak Avenue here to be the first item under our special certificate of appropriateness. If you could pull that up, please.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, we do still have the outstanding item of the SCOA for the property we just heard. I don't know if you wanted to complete this property first or if
We
you wanted to
should.
move on to another one. Up to you. I just want to make sure it's clear.
I think we should.
I think we should continue with the property.
I'd like to move on right now. We can come back to that.
Oh, my God.
It's fine if you want to take them. I had requested that Oak be moved up because Mr. Prime is here attending, but I had meant for it to be after the accelerated.
We can
so.
come back to the COA afterwards.
If that's the will of the board, yes.
Is that okay with everybody?
So we're taking the agenda item on Oak out of order.
Well, we have these two, yes, we're taking them out of order right now because we have people here that,
Sorry.
are showing up. Okay, we can do that and then we'll come back to it, okay?
Thank you. If you can put the PowerPoint presentation for 126 Oak Avenue up, please.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, we have the presentation now for 25-8943, case file COASP 2025-011, application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 112 Oak Avenue, a vacant parcel with the McFarland Homestead Subdivision Historic District, legally described as Lot A, Block 3A, McFarland Homestead, according to the plat book 5, page 81, Miami-Dade, Florida. Application requests design approval for infill construction of a new single-family residence.
Thank you. While they're pulling up the PowerPoint presentation. So the district was designated, McFarland was designated in 1989. It was the boundaries of the designation had been amended a few times. In 1998, the boundary was amended, I believe it was the third time, to specifically include the structure at 126 Oak. It was a contributing residence, a resource at the time of designation, a one-story wood frame bungalow constructed around 1929, was located on the property. I'll get there in a minute. Okay, hold on. In 2009, the Historic Preservation Board approved a request to demolish the structure because it was beyond repair. It had been so severely deteriorated that the board agreed to the demolition. It's been a vacant parcel ever since. They're coming forward now, still remains in the original family, proposing a new two-story residence. No variances are required as part of the application. It did go to the Board of Architects a few times we're getting there. It went to the Board of Architects a few times with some additional comments that have all been incorporated into the set that you saw and was ultimately approved. We do have some conditions at the end that we do recommend approval with those conditions incorporated into any motion being made. I know. Are they doing this or what? Can you please skip ahead to 126 Oak? There we go. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Okay, going the wrong direction, people. So this was part of my presentations, just so you can see the house as it was in 1998 at the time of designation into the district, and in 2003, 6 years later, it was demolished. So I'm now going to turn this over carefully.
All right.
Up to you.
If you please state your name and address for the record.
James Smith, architect, 7855 Southwest 104th Street.
Kindly pull this down and show
Sure
it as
thing. She's a little
close as you can.
taller than I am.
Thank you.
I will. My name is Jim Smith. I'm an architect, JAS Group Architects Planners. Some of you I know, I've seen you here before for a long while. I'm at 7855 Southwest 104th Street, Suite 200 in Miami. This residence that we've been working on with staff and with the Board of Architects for 2.5 years. And we've finally gotten our preliminary approval from the Board of Architects earlier this year. We've addressed, as it's stated in the letter, our letter of intent and their packet, we've addressed the few little cosmetic concerns that the board had in the earlier meetings. We've worked with them also to provide some advanced details of how we're planning to put the building together and representing our interpretation of the local vernacular at the time, working with the historic staff. So it's been a good working relationship. So, I'll see if this runs the right direction. This is a two-story residence as outlined and as illustrated. This is the view from Oak Avenue. By the way, this lot presented a particular challenge because it's substandard in size. It's only 4,500 square feet instead of the minimum 5,000. So everything got squeezed, and one of our last efforts in respect with the Board of Architects comments was the carport that our client doesn't drive, doesn't own a car. We have a carport. But we're not asking for a variance to make the carport go away, but one of the things we had to accommodate on the property was a carport. That's the way the code is. We pushed the carport back another additional 6 feet from the front so that it wasn't so obvious on the front elevation. Again, this is a close-up of the front view, working with modern vernacular materials that lend itself to long-term use, hurricane resistant. The house, by the way, is all concrete block, and will have applied siding. This is not a wood frame house. So we did our best to do that. I wanted to make sure that there was some point of confusion about the construction, but this is a CBS home with applied siding. Again, a view from the southwest. Many of you are familiar with where this is. This is east of US 1, North Grand Avenue, west of Douglas Road. This is because the building is pushed back from the street and we minimize the rear yard. The original design considers a private internal courtyard for the use of the resident, by the way, which is a family member going back almost 100 years. Is site plan showing the reduced carport and also the setback from the street. The last Board of Architects comments that we got, we narrowed up the front porch. We made the front porch footprint smaller. This is the street view, which unfortunately is a two-dimensional view, but these are all of our lot designations. This is the floor plan of the house. Very modest home. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Elevations and some building sections. The owner's representatives are here with me this evening, but the owner is traveling or resident sometimes in California. So this is something that he's very interested in. We hope you find this acceptable.
Thank you.
Okay.
Board, are there any questions of Mr. Smith?
And you're using hardy board?
We're using hardy plank.
Plank.
Yeah, the cement board
On top of the block.
on block. Yeah, it's really the only way to do it, so.
And do you have any issues with the conditions that are in the report?
None at all. We actually worked with staff and with the Board of Architects, and some of those are presently, all of those are accommodated.
Mr. Silva?
I just had a question for staff. Got me a little confused because you had both the original COA report and the new one in there. But figure it out. But you did include that original COA for the application for demolition. Were there any conditions put in place at that time?
No.
Nothing. So they were granted demolition requests with no conditions. Thank you.
And I did want to note that Carl Prime is here. We'd asked that they reach out to the Homeowners Association prior to presentation to you all. So I don't know if you'd like to speak. I believe so.
Please.
If that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Good afternoon. Please state your name and your address, sir.
Carl Leon Prime, 141 Florida Avenue.
Thank you.
Okay. Distinguished members of this board, good afternoon. In my capacity as president of the Lola B. Walker Homeowners Association of Coral Gables, Inc., I'd like to say that we support this project. You know, they have been engaged with us and have given us updates, and we are always pleased when descendants of pioneers return to the area. That's a good omen. And so we welcome this residence.
Thank you, sir.
It's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. It's so nice to see you here.
Thank you.
Brought out by the best.
Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this application? Okay, if not, anyone opposed? All right, we can close that then, and we'll come back here to the board. Okay, board, questions?
I love this house.
So noted, Ms. Rolando.
And I love the proposed landscaping too.
Yes, I'd like to get one of the crepe myrtles.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to my renderer.
All right. Are there any questions?
I wanted to
Ms.
make
Alvarez.
a suggestion, in addition to the staff comments, which I agree with, would be for the applicant to work with the city architect and with the historic department on some of the detailing. 'Cause the overall project is very nice, but it seems like the surrounds on the windows and the column capitals and the kind of the relationship of the beam to the column capitals could be more traditional. I realize there's an effort to be more abstract, but just it seems like it's almost there.
Well, actually, that was one of the things we worked on at the Board of Architects on our third trip to the board and we provided a detail sheet, which is included in the set that you have, specifically about those items. So, I mean, we're here for a preliminary approval, and we can certainly work with staff and the board for our final approval, but these details have specifically been tweaked.
Is that about the hardy board covering the ends on the surrounds of the windows?
Well, we have a detail there on that particular sheet.
Is it on your part of your presentation or no?
It is.
Okay. If you can put the PowerPoint back up, please. Thank you.
These are the window surrounds, the hardy board.
Right.
We've
I'm looking
addressed
at it.
these all, and these are simplified, like the surrounds on the windows on the upper left. On the upper left of this drawing, that's these are all as worked out with the Board of Architects. I mean, if you have a specific detail that we could address. I mean, that could be something that we could work on with staff.
Anna, are you thinking a narrower surround?
So typically, the column capital is smaller.
Could you speak a little louder?
So typically, the column capital is smaller, and then the beam is offset from the column capital. Right now, it's basically overhangs from the column capital.
Mm-hmm. So have it
It's
reached
all-
less,
it's
more, more
It's about
traditional?
like, I don't know, fine tuning it, and I understand that you've been through a few steps through the Board of Architects, so I don't want to complicate matters, but I think it's they're just like little tweaks that would just make it look more authentic.
We can work,
which is
we can
is
work with
probably-
staff on that.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I'd like to call for a motion.
Me again?
You don't have to, Ms. Rolando. No one is forcing you. I can ask Mr. Durano to provide one.
I can do it.
Let's go. Mr. Durano.
All right, put forth a motion to approve with the conditions noted above, the design proposal for info construction of a new single-family residence and site work on the property located at 126 Oak Avenue, a vacant parcel within the McFarland Homestead Historic District, legally described as Lot 8, Block 3A. And we also approve the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness with the conditions noted above. Do we need to read the conditions, or it's fine?
No, I just want to clarify if you'd like Anna's suggestion to be
Yes.
a formal condition, number 7, 6?
6.
Okay.
yeah.
So including that one, if that's.
To work with staff, for staff to work with the applicant for the columns and the beams.
Second.
Okay, second by Ms. Rolando. Would you please call the roll?
Miss Everett? Yes. Miss Spain?
Yes.
Miss Alvarez?
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Mr. Durana?
Yes.
Miss Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
Yes. Mr. Smith, it's an excellent design.
Thank you very much.
Appreciated your
Congratulations.
presentation.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take the board back. We're going to go back to the COA portion of case file LDH 2024-015 and the COA SP 2025-1-010 for the, okay. And the applicant is requesting the issuance of an accelerated special certificate of appropriateness and design approval for additions and alterations to the residence and site work of 2716 Cordova Street, legally described as Lot 12, and the east half of Lot 13, Block 15, Coral Gables, Section A, Plat Book 5, page 102, Miami-Dade County Record. Variance has also been requested from Section 2-101D4C of the Coral Gables zoning code for the minimum rear setback.
Thank you. If you can put the second PowerPoint for the COA, SP 25010, please. Going back to the beginning for Cordova. So while they're getting it ready, the application requests design approval for a 2-story addition, alterations to the residence, construction of a 2-story auxiliary structure, and site work. The variance has been requested from Article 2, Section 2-101D4C of the zoning code for the minimum rear setback of the new 2-story addition on the west side of the property. So I'm going to let the applicant discuss the design intent, obviously, but I would like to explain the variance being requested prior to. So the variance is to allow the new addition to have a rear setback of approximately 5 feet versus 10 feet as required by code. So if you all look at the survey of this property, you'll see that it's oriented in the long direction as opposed to the narrow end of the lot. And so as the address may be on Cordova, it was originally permitted on the other street. So zoning looks at it as the front being on the other street, not on Cordova. So their rear is actually towards the interior of the lot, the side setback, what you would think of as a side. So we are, because of the orientation of the house and the way zoning is interpreting the setbacks, we are okay with the 5 feet because that's a minimum side setback requirement as any house facing the front on this lot would be. So we are okay with that. And it's also the garage is maintaining the required 25-foot front setback along Sevilla and the 15-foot setback on the interior side street. So they're kind of hedged in all over the place. So we are okay with the variance. The Board of Architects approved in March with no comments. We do have comments that we would like to incorporate into the approval. They're fairly standard. The applicant is aware of them, and I will let him make his presentation to you.
Please.
But this is not it. Were you sworn in?
Yes, I was sworn in and
Okay.
will restate my name.
Here we go.
Thank you, Terry.
If you would again,
This
just
is
please state
definitely
your name.
the little house that could challenge you.
Please state your name again and just.
Peter Killigian, PPKS Architects, 1330 Northwest 84th Avenue, Miami, Florida. We're here to save the little house that could, and we are very happy to. It's a beautiful house. Challenging. I'm going to try to be brief because I think you've heard a lot of background on it. You know where it's at. It's 2 blocks south of Salvador Park. The neighborhood is a mixed, bag of some new construction, some existing homes. Very nice scale. This is the top 2 is the one on the left is our next door neighbor, and the one on the right is a neighbor across the street. So we're bounded by 2-story homes. These are pictures of the house. The house is the main facade, which is on Cordova, is pretty much intact, but there were additions done to the rear. The original rear was not very impressive. It was basically back of house stuff, but on top of that, there's been additions, and not very good ones either. So you will see that we preserved complete front of the house with something done to the garage, and the rears were some of the alterations that have been made. Hopefully we feel, and you feel, that they were for the best. Again, you've seen the historic picture of the house. Very little bit microfilm information. This is from one of the additions. Very challenging roof massing and structure, by the way. Again, the house is sited with a front on Cordova, and we've had to, kind of strategize on setbacks, and that's why one of the variances is that we're asking for, as you heard. There's a lot of trees, but most of them are palms and just nothing really significant. The larger trees that are basically on the corner we're keeping. And this is a quick comparison of the existing site and the proposed site. You can see that we're adding in 2 places. We're adding at the southwest corner of the property, and we're adding at the north part of the property. So we're adding a garage and auxiliary structure detached from the home, so we're not touching the historic part of the home on the southwest. And on the north, we're touching at a very minimal area to the existing house. So we've been able to pretty much stay away from the existing home and sort of fulfill the required program. I could tell you stories how we got there, but I think you've been here long enough. The roof is staying almost 100% intact. We're adding a flat roof area in one of the areas where there was an addition done, and that's going to help kind of organize a little bit some of the conditions that are there now. As you saw, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the microfilm, but that addition of the flat roof is not even parapeted. It's it's a very ad hoc kind of addition. Our zoning diagrams, we're good there. The demolition is mainly interior, and then openings in the west facade. This is the floor plan of the house, and I don't know how you point. So the scheme basically is a U-shaped courtyard, and surrounded by the required program, and really repurposing the existing spaces in the house in a more modern usable way. Then we're keeping the wall space. These homes, I live in a 38 home, and they all have the same kind of approach, right? They have like a wall space. You walk in, exposed ceilings, and then the rest is very modest. So this has that. The living room is that kind of space with a fireplace. We're going to restore that. We're keeping the raised floors in that space. And then in order to get a little bit of height in the rest of the house, we're dropping. So that space will be elevated, and the rest of the house will be dropped on the inside. So on the outside, the look of the home will remain as it is, and on the inside, you'll be able to enjoy a little bit higher ceilings. And I think this one shows the best, how separate from the existing home the additions are. Basically they're almost, two separate pods away from the house. Again. We try to simplify the roofs of the additions. The house has a telescoping roof, gable roof, very unique. And this is the facade from Cordova. As you can see, we're keeping all the openings as they are. The only opening the opening's not changing, but the treatment of the opening is the garage. We turned that into a family room and put the garage on Sevilla. And on an initial run, we were trying to duplicate the windows that the original house has. We're going to work with staff because there are only a couple of companies that do that, and budget-wise, it's getting crazy. So you'll see at the end of the presentation, there's an alternate window configuration that still works within the existing openings. This is the west. This is the one that, like I said, there's the most changes in the fenestration. But as you can see, the original on top. I mean, the fenestration is so ad hoc. It's not even And then this is a Sevilla elevation with and without. There's a coral wall there that we're going to maintain. We're doing a one-car garage. We're massing it. We're stepping it. So we're kind of treating it in a very sensitive way. And this is the north elevation. And so we got through the Board of Architects, and then when we got to Kara, she said, "Wait, you can do better than that." So we met after the board approval. We met, and she had some observations, which it's always good to see hear from another architect. These are just some of the I think since the elevations are flat, it looks imposing. But when you look at the rendering, you can see that the original house really shines, and the additions are sort of a backdrop to the rest of the house. And so if you'll allow me, I'd like to, we went back and did some more work and addressed some of the comments that Historic had. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to introduce them. And if you're okay with them, then they can be part of the record. And if not, we can just, go with a BOA approval, however you like. And so, the crux of it is kind of reducing that volume at the stairs and separating the addition a little bit further. This is still the original. And so here you can see that the addition in the back at the north is a couple of feet further away from the existing house. That's the BOA approved plan, where I think the separation in that little corner is probably about 2 feet. Here it's about 3 feet. It's about a foot, but it makes a difference. That's the original. That's the new. And then I think there is where you can really see the difference, that the reducing the height of the stair. Sorry. Is that it? Sorry.
Thank you.
So originally, this is a volume, even though it's not, it's lower than the rest of the addition. In this one, you can see that the stair, we changed the massing, and so it acts as an intermediate step between the 1-story and the 2-story, even further. And we're actually very happy with it. So the west didn't change much. Here, I think that you can see it way in the back. That was the original. Here you see the transition. It's a much more smoother and much nicer. This volume is, reduced. And I think here's where you can, see that this is a little bit more abrupt than this, and this kind of follows the eye, the line of that, that pitch. And there's a much smaller mass back here. So I think that's where we got with this house. It was a interesting trip here, but we're glad to work with it. I think in the end we were able to accommodate the program and kind of really preserve, I would say 90% of the house.
May I ask a question, please?
Sure.
Have you considered restoring the original design of the shutters rather than the new design shutters that are shown?
Yeah, that's not a problem. We're okay with all the conditions, and that's fine. Yeah,
If you'll work with staff on that, I mean.
No, that's a minor detail, so we have no problem.
It's just those little things that always make it. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay. Board, questions? Ms. Rolando?
I had a problem with that north addition, the larger one. I think you've addressed some of my concerns. It just seemed like it was a lug. You'd done so many beautiful things. You even did a great garage, and then you had this clunker at the end, and it does seem more elegant now. Could you put it back up so we could see it?
Can you put the
Ms.
PowerPoint back up,
Rolando,
please?
you're questioning the height and sort of
Yeah,
the scale of that.
Yeah,
Perhaps you'd tell us what the floor-to-floor heights are, or floor-to-ceiling
One
heights.
second.
yeah.
Can you put the PowerPoint back up, please?
Right now we have a 10-foot first and second floor.
Yeah.
So
That's your reason.
Yeah, I guess I think 9 would be better on the second, but I don't know that that's
yeah,
widely
it was a challenge to get the appropriate programming. So we ended up putting the primary bedroom on the second floor. Typically, when we put the secondary bedrooms on the second floor, 9 foot is adequate.
Yeah.
But it gets hard to to kind of put a primary, to have a 9-foot ceiling on a primary bedroom in a present day home. But it's something we could look at the floor, the intermediate, and work with it.
I'd like to hear from the professional architects, not the amateur one.
CGTV, can you please put the PowerPoint back on the screen? Thank you.
So both of those have 10-foot ceilings, is that what you're saying? I don't have a problem with it. I mean, particularly the bottom one.
Right, and we introduced the hip roof to kind of soften the massing as well.
Right.
The house, and again, I think you guys are going to be seeing a lot of these houses coming here because there isn't just a few. There's quite a bit of them in the Gables, and I live in one, and I've worked. Now this is probably my third one, and there is a healthy mix in these houses of hip roofs and gables, and so we were not shy about introducing a hip roof if it helped kind of mitigate the scale of the house. I think, again, the elevations, they're tough because they're flat on, but at the end of the day.
Could you leave up the front elevation?
The what?
The front elevation, the one that shows the comparison of the historic stuff, comment version with the BOA one?
Past it.
I think that was, you just went past it.
Back?
Yeah, back. Pick up 2.
sorry. Yeah.
So I think this is I think this is a nice way to incorporate what I understand to be Kara's comments about transitioning in terms of heights, you know, from the house to the addition. I was wondering on the part where you get the full two-story, where you have the window gallery. Is that off-center? Need to be like that in plan, or?
So that edge is bearing at the stair landing.
Right.
And we actually felt that you know that asymmetry was you know, it's kind of a quirk that you find in these homes, but and also the beam height here is lower than the beam height at the rest of the addition. So there's another step there. You know, this is actually more complex construction than that, but I think it, you know, I think the stair is a place where you can, you know, work with that, and so. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, the original square footage of the original house and what you're taking it to?
I have to go to the.
No, well, okay. It's.
I think we're below the maximum that we can do there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we are, you know, we're taking advantage of what the lot has to offer. I mean, I don't know what the owner paid for that, but I mean, he bought it before. We bought it back in August, I think. So it was when the market was still at its, you know, highest. So I think you know, the reality of these things is that, you know, they have to kind of work programmatically, and, you know.
But am I only seeing a one-car garage?
That is something that many times when we do these historic homes, we encourage that sacrifice, because it's a sacrifice. But there's a lot of benefit to that. There's a 400 square foot FAR bonus that you get if you have a detached garage, which we do. But it also, as you can tell, it's a very authentic feature that you see in houses, you know, from that era. So I think it's a good trade-off, and I think the incentive that was put there by zoning is a good one. And anytime I can get a client to buy in on that, it's not always everyone, you know. It's a good question. Most people want a two-car garage. But I think in this case, two things here. The position of the existing garage is in an awkward place. It's only a 15-foot setback. The driveway doesn't work, and it bifurcates the house completely. If we are going to change the position of the garage to Sevilla, then a two-car garage wouldn't work, because then we would be 1/3 over the width of the facade, which is not allowed by zoning. But I mean, to me, that's the most successful part of the house, is the garage with the Sevilla part. So the most challenging part is the two-story on the north. Again, it also houses the most program, and, you know.
So
I like the door, though.
the scale of the garage is great. Love it. I mean, I think it's so perfect. But so what's interesting about the site plan here is going back to the quirkiness of the lot. There's a 25-foot setback, because this is a front facing where other residences are on this street. So this has to line up with all of the other residential on the street. So he has a 25-foot setback on this side. So if you were to add it, there's no place to put a two-car garage.
Yeah.
Right.
It would be proud of the house, which we don't want. It would be standing out on the street and would probably require a variance. So in this case, the garage, I think, is one of the most successful parts of this.
No, and what you know, I think it's successful. What we feel is successful about the additions is that they create spaces between the additions and the house, right? It's a series of courtyards. You have a courtyard between the garage and the house. You have a courtyard between the bedroom addition and the house, and then there's the main. So we think it's a very functional way to address modern program, I guess you could call it. So,
Mr. Garcia Pons, you have a question?
Yes. Can you go back to the elevation of the existing proposal and the new proposal for the front? So I really appreciate both the sort of staggered gable that you originally had. I think it's very elegant in 2 dimensions. 3 dimensions, I agree with Mr. Orlando, was a little bit forward. And I really appreciate Mrs. Couts bringing you the opportunity to push it back a little bit and change it. I'm not sure if it's quite as elegant. I think it's missing a little bit as the sort of simplicity and beauty of the upper elevation. I'm not sure if there's something that can be done. One thing that I immediately can see is that sort of triple window now seems way out of proportion with the existing house and the new house. And looking at the plan, I think it leads into the stairwell.
It lights the stairwell, basically. Yeah.
I think it seems to be the same width as the living room downstairs.
Yes.
And the living room is a room that needs that kind of a window, and stairs are not. And I believe that you can light the stairs without such an impact of that wall to window ratio that's there. And I think of all the things, I'm not really, I don't think it's as elegant as the one above, but it is better. And I think one thing that could make it even better is a better proportion of window to wall on that location.
All I can say is we tried it with 2 windows, and then the proportion of glass to solid was too much. I think that creating another, it's going to be challenging to create another cut on that gable, because as you can see, that the stair is complicated enough as it is. Right before we had before it was a more natural step, if you want to call it. I mean, this looks like a simple change, but we really had to rework the bathrooms, everything. This mass here got smaller, got pushed out a little bit. So it's been like surgery too.
I'm sure it was.
So it's not, it looks simple, and as an architect, I'm sure you can appreciate it. The mass on the mass on the gable is a little wider than I would like, but in all honesty, I mean, it's something that's of that era that I've seen before, and I was really in love with this corner window scenario, which happens in those houses as well. And we tried it here as well. We tried to do a corner window and then come back and do something else there. It was not really working, to be honest with you. So I know what you're saying. The lighting of the stair doesn't bother me because that's something that in reality the stair is lit from there. It's lit from where is it? From over here as well. It's lit from there. So the stair is a cornucopia of openings, which is a fun space. And we worked out, I didn't include it. We worked this out in section. It's a series of 2 arches, that frame that stair landing. So, your point is well taken. I can tell you that I've studied the different options, and, I'm open to suggestions, but I can tell you that we've worked with reducing, somehow trying to reduce that mass without having the plan fall apart. I mean, there's a point where the plan just starts to become something that's not, not even a workable thing.
My comment is specifically window to wall ratio, not use or anything else. I think it's fine every other way. It would seem that almost even a single window would be more appropriate, or if it was a less horizontal and maybe the 3 pieces had a sort of separation between the 3.
That I could see. I think that's something. Yeah, I think that's, and again, we were grabbing onto this right here, a version of that, which you picked up on. Yeah. But I like that suggestion of having masonry between there, and as a matter of, I wouldn't mind thickening up that wall and having depth would make it cool.
Excellent, thank you.
I think that's an excellent observation.
Mr. Silva?
I think you did an excellent job in working with this house and
Thank you.
with the lot. I think the newer solution in response to Ms. Kautz's comment is very good.
Thank you.
I appreciate how the house kind of cascades down and then you start to come up again, especially on that north facade. I think that tilting down is much better. In regards to Caesar's comment about the windows, I see your point, Caesar. The only thing I'd be concerned about is if you start splitting that up, then you really start, it's an asymmetrical mass now, right? And so what happens, how does that start to read? So
But I think Peter got it right. I think it's,
Yeah.
if you do depth and you change it a little bit, that's going to be it.
Yeah, I think that at the expense of just it's a cost. The owner doesn't care about the cost anymore. we're going to. He just wants to get the house approved. He's dying to move in. I think his son's going to live in it when he's 30 or 35. But at the expense of. And we've done that in the past successfully, and I think that's many times something that's missed. Nobody really thinks about that, the depth of the walls in some of these houses. Again, I live in a 1938 house with 1'4" thick walls, so there's a lot to be gained by that.
It happens sort of down below the living room window anyway. That step below is it?
Actually, they have this arch here is 2 feet deep.
That's nice.
Yeah, this one's also, so that's already going on in the house. So that's a really nice observation. I think that if we couple it with some depth and maybe, I think that pier doesn't have to be that thick. It can be something, that's turned. And so maybe it's an 8 by 12 going this way. I think that's a beautiful observation. So like I said, anytime you put it in front of 10 architects, 20 eyes more.
It always works that way. Any other
We always
questions?
find something.
We're thinking of taking it back to the board and see if there's anything else we can look at.
No.
We're
You've got it.
We're
You've got
going
it
to
already.
approve this so
This
that
is
you don't have to come back. Mr. Silva, you had
Just,
another
I did
question.
want to talk about the easement, I'm sorry, not the easement, the variance.
The variance.
I think it's pretty clear that this is a very strange condition and that all the conditions in the zoning code for granting that variance are met.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's, it makes a big difference. I think it makes the courtyard in the middle, a usable courtyard. And
Ms. Alvarez, do you have a question?
Oh, I just had a question for the applicant. Are you okay with the other staff comments? There's something about a front.
I'm
door.
always okay with staff's
Okay.
comments.
I know, 'cause we wanted
You're the
to know
only
if there
one.
were any.
We're here at this point on the bottom because of staff. No, in all honesty, we've always worked close with staff, and Kara always calls me out when I'm being lazy on something. So she called me out on this time, and I appreciate it.
Never
No,
called you lazy.
seriously, we're fine with all the comments.
Thank you. Ms. Spain, do you have any comments? Okay, Mr. Garcia Pons, any further comments? Mr. Silva? Ms. Rolando? Ms. Everett? Mr. Dorano? All right. We ready for a motion?
Yes, I'd like
Okay.
to,
Mr. Garcia Pons making the motion.
I'm going to make two motions. A motion to approve the design proposal for additions and alterations to the residence and site work on the property located at 2716 Cordova Street, and approve with the conditions noted in the staff report, the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness with the additional condition of working with staff regarding accepting the alternate elevations as presented today,
With the comment of
including the comment with that second floor window and what we talked about as far as the depth is concerned.
And the shutters.
That's on the
It's already one of them.
staff report.
Yeah, anyway, don't worry about it.
So that is motion for the first part.
I have a question. I don't know if it's. Well, go ahead, finish your.
Okay.
I second.
Mr. Rolando?
Do you have a question?
There was a comment on the door. Is it is it the existing door? Okay.
Yeah, it is. The front door is existing, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're fine with it.
So we have one motion on the table. Did you want to, and you've got the second motion on the
It's going
table?
to be a variance, we'll do separately.
You want to, you want to do them separately?
I'm happy to do them together.
Separate, let's do them separately. Okay, so we have a motion on the table to approve the COA.
Here, to have the same
And
people do the.
motion by Mr. Garcia Pons, seconded by Ms. Rolando. Please call the roll.
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Durana,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes. Next motion?
Motion to approve variance to allow the new addition to have a rear setback of approximately 5 feet versus the required minimum setback in a single-family district of 10 feet.
Okay, we have a motion. Have a second.
A
Ms.
second.
Everett. Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Mr. Durana,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons, Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, and thank you
you.
for a good design. Appreciate you working with us. Okay, let's see. here. All right, we're going to continue to move on. We have to our next case file, which is 258836, case file COASP 2025-007, and that is not a movie. An application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 3920 Durango Street, legally described as Lot 6, Blocks 46, Country Club, Section 3, according to Plat Book 10, page 52, Public Records, Dade County, Florida. Application requests design approvals for additions and alterations to the residence and detached garage and site work. Board, you'll remember that we've seen this previously, and for some of it. So, staff,
Thank you.
Ms. Cal?
You can please put the PowerPoint up. The property was constructed in 1925. It is attributed to architect H. George Fink. If you guys will remember, this was designated as a local historic landmark in August of 2024. This is a location map of the property. There is a large vacant parcel right next door, but it is obviously a buildable lot, so it will not be a vacant lot forever. The application does request design approval for a 2-story addition to the rear of the residence and attached garage and alterations to the residence. The 2-story addition will extend over the existing 1-story detached garage, and site work is also proposed. If you guys do remember, in July of 2023, there was a fire on the 2nd story of the house. It was declared not fit for habitation, has been vacant since that time. The current owner did purchase the property after the fire and is going to be doing the modifications to the property. This is the 1940s photo of the house. This is his presentation. So there were no variances requested in conjunction with the application. It went to the Board of Architects a couple of times and was approved based on satisfying all of the board comments that have been incorporated into this set. Yes? Yes. Okay. And there are conditions that staff has. I'm going to be completely transparent. I did not write this report. This was done by Ms. Pernis prior to her departure. It was supposed to be on the meeting last month, but you know, I'll try to answer questions if you have any of staff.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Board. My name is Hamed Rodriguez, architect, office at 275 Minorca Avenue.
Thank you.
Well, this house is interesting. It's a small lot. The owner bought it thinking that she could demolish it and do a modern house. That was her taste. So I said, I don't think so. Let's get Anna over here and take a look at this property and find out a little bit more about it. And if you see the inside, you understand why she thought she could just demolish it. It's rough, and you'll see these pictures. And Anna said, oh, absolutely not. This is wonderful. So I told her, there's great benefits to working with this, and I think we can make this a really special home. And so she got excited about it. As a matter of fact, I wish I would have put a cute name on it, because I realized that that's kind of a nice thing to do. But she's referring to it as the Pink Fink, because she's a real fan now. So she could not be here. She's an anesthesiologist, and she's always working. I barely remember what she looks like. But Anyway, this house was a great challenge, and the challenge by staff was keep the addition behind the existing two-story volume, which was a welcome challenge. So let's see if I get this right. Okay, survey. Okay, so this is the, let me see if I can get this right. Pointer. Okay, good. House next to it. Let me see, this one is south of it. That's the house. Right now that's an earlier picture. And this is a neighboring house, but actually right to this side, the north side is the empty lot. And these are the houses across the street. So there's a mixture of 1- and 2-story houses and two-story houses that are set back.
You don't have the blue tarps on the roof in their picture.
Right. This is a slightly earlier picture, but that one's coming. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. This is well, the historic picture here. Nice. That picture was the only thing we really had to go by. So we really leaned into that picture to try to pick up everything that was missing from the house. This is the interior of the house now because there's a hole on the top. The fire happened right back here, just behind the chimney. And so there's a hole there, and you could see the damage that there's a tarp there now. These are just some materials boards of we shared this with the Board of Architects, but we could go back to that. Okay. This is the existing plan. So here this was original because we did see a type of, I'm not sure the technical name for it, but it was a type of card that had diagrams of the house, and that we could find, much like the earlier presentation, that there was a type of maids or guest house type. I'm not sure if it was a, but there was a living quarter here, and this was probably a one-car garage. And then there is this little stoop back here that's in really bad shape. It's acting as a utility room, and this is the house, of course, which you're used to, the living room concept, dining room, kitchen. Not sure what was going on here, but it almost felt like this was a back porch, but it just couldn't be because it needed room for the kitchen. These 2 bedrooms here, this was a type of lanai. You go up the stair, and it was the primary bedroom. And so the fire must have started somewhere around here, and that's the end of that. Moving forward. So the property is a little over 5,000 square feet. The existing home is approximately 1,700 square feet. The new home is the maximum FAR, which is 25.4, roughly, just a hair over. And we matched that exactly because her program was to add another bedroom. So this is what we came up with. So as you can see here, the front, this is a rendering, but the front is exactly like what the house would have been like. And what we did was, as you could see on the side, this would be the north side. Everything is restored in the front. We're bringing back the screen door. We're keeping the front door because we don't think that it's damaged beyond use. And then here you could see that we're transitioning the second floor back here, and then we are extending over and occupying what was the detached structure. So we're modifying the detached structure to work with the house. And we'll get into that a little bit. You could see on the south side, we are utilizing the backyard sort of as a courtyard concept. We are doing some deep foundations for these columns so that we could really bring the pool and integrate with the house. And then we picked up the idea for these wrought iron balconies from little elements that exist, such as this here, this planter box in the front that was visible from the earlier pictures. Here we have these little pop-outs that are necessary for interior movements that we needed, one being a tub and the other one being a little stoop to match the other side, and we'll see that in the floor plan. So here you can see it a little bit larger, and the back here, this was a secondary bedroom, and it had a window, so what we did was we added a a little elevated pad there, and some French doors. Here you could see a larger close-up of the back as if you were standing on that stoop looking down. So it has a lot of little areas of wonderment and nooks and crannies. Even back here, this is the outdoor kitchen, and then as you go around, there's a shower for the pool. There's access back into the one-story space that used to be the garage, and then there is a stair that takes you up into what would be this area up here, which is a little sun deck off of what you'll see as the master bedroom. So we had a lot of fun with this. And oops. Okay, it stayed there. So the one on, oh, here we go. All right. It's a little sluggish. No, trying to go back. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to point at. But okay. I think I'm going in. There we go. To go back. Trying to. No, I'm actually trying to. Oh, that's the one to go back. All right. With the back arrow? Okay, so it's going to start going back, okay. Okay, got it, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got a mind of its own. It's almost there. I think it just got ahead of itself. Sorry about that. Here we go. So you can see the one on the left is the existing conditions, and it has an enormous driveway. And it has a very nice looking specimen tree in the right-of-way. So of course that's a major feature. You could see that we're really minimizing the amount of driveway, so that of course we need the space for the septic. And that was the first thing we did before we got too involved, just to make sure it fits, and it does. That engineering is done. But that was is something that's going to bring back the front of this house with the amount of green space that it once had. All that trouble to explain. All right. So here you can see that we are keeping the living room as a living room, dining room. We're opening this up a little bit more, definitely opening the kitchen, doing a lot of work here in the kitchen, and then removing the utility area to create French doors with these steps that go down to occupy the area of the outdoor kitchen. Over here, we're still using this as a bedroom. We're reconfiguring the bathroom a bit more to get a little bit more space out of it. Keeping this room here, now it's going to be mostly like a den or a separate type of room. We removed the closet so that we can gain the space there. This will remain as a type of lanai or sunroom, and it seemed like it was always covered and screened. It's hard to tell. It might have been screens. More likely, it was screens with a framing that looked like the windows. This floor is slightly depressed and it's a tile. So we're keeping that. And then this stair, as it goes up, which is the same stair configuration, has a little arch right over here. We're keeping all of that. And then over here, what used to be a garage, she wants as a multi-purpose for exercise equipment and laundry. So we did a powder room here that could be used as a cabana bath, and there's an outdoor shower here, and then the stairs that'll take you up to the second floor area here. This is the exterior space, and I'll start from the back and go forward. Master closet, primary room. Here's the primary bathroom, double sinks here, tub, and these nooks that we came up with the planter boxes that you can see on the renderings. Another closet just to kind of make up for this other closet, and then two bedrooms with a shared Jack and Jill.
Very efficient.
Thank you. So here you could see the top is the existing condition, and the bottom is the proposed. So on this one here on the right, it's you can see that the similarities are exact. We are just adding the pieces that are gone, such as the top of the chimney, the metal work at the front of the house in the center second floor. We're putting in the proper windows, and we're adding the screen doors. And we have a note that we are going to restore that front door, so we're just going to probably just do shutters, you know, that's the only way to protect it. Over here, this is the rear of the house, and this shows a little bit of it, which is going from this window to these French doors for that bedroom. And here you're seeing the back of the addition. So this is the terrace upstairs, the back, this is the closet back here, master closet. This is an opening to a covered space before going to the terrace. And this is an opening here that looks straight through the summer kitchen. Okay, so this next one here, you can see the original house here, and then the proposed elevation. We're going through the trouble of setting this wall back 4 inches and going with a smoother stucco to really respect the profile of the original house. And again, changing all the windows, adding the features that are missing, and creating this sense of entry into this courtyard experience. And again, this is a side elevation of the upstairs terrace and downstairs area behind the summer kitchen. This is the other elevation. As you can see here, again, proper windows. Beyond, you'll see our proposal. And with these wrought iron balconies, they will be functional, but they will not be an extended slab. They will be made to suit and placed. As a matter of fact, we have a detail here. That was one of the comments we received, I think, from the Board of Architects. We really wanted to detail it, and so we further detailed it to make sure that they understood what it looked like. Moving on. And here's, this section was really for us to study what's going on. And we're leaving the first floor intact because of the fireplace and because of other issues and the height. We can play with the height in the center area. It's not a terrible ceiling height to work with. And let me see. So we're getting 9 feet in certain areas, and then we're creating coffers around for running certain flex ducts for the air conditioning. And then on the roof of the back addition, we're working with concrete on that area just because it's got ins and outs, and we could waterproof that terrace area a lot better that way. And I think that might be the last image. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I can go,
between
let
the new and the existing?
me see if I can go back. Primarily on the north side, the side that faces that empty lot. That is the area where the new addition on the second floor moves towards the back. So we did a relief. We're playing with rebuilding that original parapet, that was a parapet, to become a beam that allow us to set the block back on the new addition so that we can keep a ghost of what the original profile of the house was. And that's the only area where we really need to do that, because everything else is really offset from the rest of the house.
So that happens, you marked it on the elevation vertically, but does that happen horizontally
It
as
does,
well?
yeah. It rides, it insets from the original wall of the original primary bedroom. And then it rides 4 inches in from that parapet that was there before.
Oh, okay. Okay, I understand now. Mm.
You know, you're doing enough restoration on this house that you should apply for the ad valorem tax relief, which has to start part one before construction. You just file it with the preservation office, but I think it'd be worthwhile for you. It's very easy to do, and the city portion of it, I think it's kind of hellish, the county portion. I think they may have changed that, but look into it, because it may be worth it.
No, that's part of the plan, and I'm glad you're telling me about when it starts, because
Yeah, you need to make sure you get the paperwork in before you put a shovel to the ground.
okay.
And the county is amazingly organized. After 10 years, they'll put back that cost that you put in, but it's the cost you put in 10 years before, so it still works out.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful.
So.
I know this property very well, and also a very good friend lived in the oversized property next door. Is there any plan for that? I mean, how large is the?
It looks like it's 3 times wider than ours, maybe 4.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Ours is a 50-foot wide lot.
I know.
So
the
that's a
parks were very good
significantly
friends, yeah.
large site, yeah. I don't know.
Ahmed, you're showing here on the cross sections that you're going to replace the original interior flooring with concrete.
We think so.
Why are you doing that?
Well, because of the type of flooring she wants on it, it's going to be rather heavy. It's a stone flooring, and we don't know the condition. I mean, I guess if the condition is terrible, we could replace it with wood if a crawl space is where this question is leading. But we were going to indent the places where vents were to keep the memory of the vents. But we really wanted a solid floor. I have an older home that I live in, and maybe the subflooring wasn't designed as sturdy as some other homes, and the squeaking sound is nice, but the bouncing is not great. So it's probably experience as I had from my own home, and this one here is it's damaged. So if it were to be done as a crawl space, it would all have to be new wood.
Yeah, you have to put in new bridging and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Any further questions?
No, just
Mr.
comment-wise, I think it's a great design. It's tough. On a 5,000 square foot lot, I think you were able to get a lot of, key features that people want nowadays while still keeping, the historic portion of the house. So,
And convincing a modernist.
Yeah. And I like the covered terrace with the columns kind of like entering the pool. I like that a lot. So I think that's pretty cool. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lovely design. Ms. Count, does staff have any issues with filling in the flooring and changing that part of the structure?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I did want to ask, though, when you go to permitting, to include the front elevations of the accessory structure as you're proposing them, like the doors, what they are going to be.
Okay.
They're not shown here. Only the existing is.
Right.
I know it's part of the new.
No, right,
but
right.
There's no back section showing that.
No, when the
facade.
CDs are, you'll see the CDs, everything's shown, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, any further questions? Presentation? If not, we'll call that to an end, and, we'll open it up to the public for any comments. Public, any comments? For or against? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and come back to the board. Okay. Ms. Alvarez?
Are we ready for a motion or someone else?
Ms.
wanna speak?
Alvarez, I'm ready for your motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions outlined by staff 1 through 7 for the design proposal, addition and alterations to the residence and site work at 3920 Durango Street. Do I need to continue?
Thank you.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Rolando. Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Alvarez. We have a second by Ms. Rolando, and Mr. Garcia Pons has a question.
Oh, okay, and approve the SCOA.
Okay, so amend the motion to add that, to approve the COA.
Thank you.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. Are we good?
Yes,
All right. Would you
you
call the
accept that? Whoever seconded?
Do we have it all?
Yes.
Very good. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Durana,
Yes.
Mr. Garcia Pons,
Yes.
Ms. Spain,
Yes.
Ms. Everett,
Yes.
Ms. Alvarez,
Yes.
Ms. Rolando,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Maxwell.
Yes. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for your presentation, and thank you for using the green windows. Window colors are really, really important.
They are.
And I hope you take a very careful look at the coloration of the house. Perhaps you'll even do some paint analysis,
We have several versions of the pink as tests on the CDs. And we're trying to get samples of the windows before we, decide on it. We want a kind of very faded type of green.
Yeah, well, good luck on that. You'll have to find it in the caulking and stuff. I found one on an Augustus Geiger building from 1916, but it took a lot. Now, usually there's another color involved too, so sills and things are different. So there's usually at least 3 colors in addition to the roof tile and then the roof venting. And so I encourage you to really get colorful, because this place was much more colorful before the 30s.
I have a lot of good friends that are very good in the historic field that I'll consult with.
Well, there's some good paint analysis people, and I'm happy to refer them to you up in Virginia and other places that are well known. So
Thank you.
if you need those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, and thank you for an excellent design.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say, I'm so glad you're taking those windows back to the casement windows.
I wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, board.
What's the window manufacturer?
you.
Just curious.
What's that?
The window manufacturer that you're
I'm
considering
looking
that has the color?
at Marvin's got a coastal product.
Mhm.
I'm looking at that one, but I'm gonna look for some other ones to put as alternates. But it won't be Mr. Glass. Okay, so don't worry, because I've been really looking at these
It is.
windows, and so I'm looking for something with finesse.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I'm sorry we had to move back over here so you don't just have to go across the street anymore. But thank you for your
Thank you so much.
presentation. I'd like to move on, please. We have the next file, which is 258944, case file COA SP 2025-015, application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 6710 Lejeune Road, a contributing resource within the Dutch South African Village Historic District, legally described as Lot 4, Bach 267, Coral Gables, Section Riviera, Section Part 11, Plat Book 28, page 23, Public Records, Dade County. The application requests after-the-fact design approval for installation of impact-resistant windows and doors. Staff.
So this location map, it is on the point of land at the intersection of Lejeune Road and San Vicente Street. The property was designated as a contributing structure within the Dutch South African Village Historic District in 1987. The architect Marion Sims White. This was designed in 1925. This is their presentation. So we are here because this is an after-the-fact application. They have submitted for a permit, and most of the design elements of the windows and configuration types have been worked out. It's the issue is the tint and the reflectivity of the installed windows that are highly visible from, they're on the rear and the sides, but because of the orientation of this lot, they're highly visible. The other concern is that the front-facing, Lejeune-facing windows have not been changed, and so accepting this level of reflectivity on the other windows will then set a precedent for the remainder of the windows that are on the front facade. So that's why they are here. Oh, sorry. So this is forward and backwards. Forward,
backward. William Arthur. Many of you know me from WHA. My architectural firm is located at 2920 Ponce de Leon Boulevard. For the members who are light on their feet, I am downstairs from the old Arthur Murray Dance Studio. Oh, yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I do. Okay. So if it's okay with the chair, I'd like to pass out a handout. And it's basically a continuation of what you'll see on the screen. I have 12 copies.
Thank you.
Mr. Arthur, just for the record, this is duplicative of information previously submitted.
Thank you.
Or is this new information?
This is new information. So as Cara had explained, this is an after-the-fact permit. We're not here to make any exterior alterations to the home. We dare not, because this was designed by Marion Sims' wife. Is everyone familiar with Marion Sims?
Yes.
Yes. So not only is this a prominent building, many of you pass by it probably every day, headed down to Cocoa Plum Circle, but as you probably know, Marion Sims' wife also designed Mar-a-Lago and 700 other very important commissions. Therefore, we are custodians of this home. We're not looking to make any alterations. We are looking to replace the leaky windows. Now, I understand members of the board or an architect would never replace windows without a permit, but that's not always clear to a layperson. Mr. Palace has joined us here tonight. He's the owner. He did not understand permits were required. We are now going through that process. We had been privileged with 4 rounds of review with Cara, and we are here to thank her for putting us on the agenda so quickly, because it is an after-the-fact permit and he is accruing daily fines. Now, I wanted to talk about the previous windows, and if you look at this page of the handout, you'll see there was originally bars there, which were not original, obviously. Those have been removed by Mr. Palace. The new windows, in my opinion, are a dramatic improvement of what was there before. Not only were they in disrepair, but they were not the original. The proposed windows, I think, are more in tune with the historic look of the house, because historically the inside casings were painted dark, and the application is for dark bronze frames. I also wanted to show you a photo on this page of the handout that shows you how photographs affect the reflectivity of the glass. I had taken the photograph on the right personally, and the clear low E windows are much more transparent during most of the times of the day, especially when they're taken in shade. There's 2 items that I disagree with in the staff report. The first is to say that it is inconsistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards to specify low E. That's just false. If you look at page 106 of the Secretary's recommendations, in this column it clearly says low E with the lowest tint possible. We're not even applying for a tint. We're applying for clear. The other item in the staff report states that it has not been reviewed by the Board of Architects. It actually has, and it was approved twice, on March 31st and April 3rd by Ms. Anderson. Yes, so it was an approval at staff level, not full board. I suppose it was Ms. Anderson or Juan who decided that the low E was appropriate and that it could be approved at staff level. On the following pages here,
Can you go back over that again? The person that staffed the Board of Architects approved the plans, or
yes, on March 31st and April 3rd.
why wasn't that the city architect? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yes,
because
these applications are routinely approved at staff level without going to full board and without going to one.
And so that's a permit that you applied after you were cited by code enforcement?
Yes.
And then it was routed to the historic department that got you here?
Yes, Ms. Bain.
Okay.
Yes, this came in as a building permit application about 12 months ago. We got involved after the application was commenced, and then we had 4 rounds of reviews since we've been involved. So it came in as a building permit application, and then it was deferred to this board maybe about a month ago or so. So we were grateful that we were able to appear so quickly. And it's part of the reason why I have a physical handout today. And
All right,
not
I
a
have
full
another
PowerPoint.
question. Can I ask the city attorney, why are we getting this at this last date? Is this appropriate for us to receive this?
I'm not aware why it was just provided today. That's why I was asking if it was previously provided. This is not an appeal, so you can consider it if there's additional changes, but I would want staff to have the benefit of the time to review this to the extent that this information changes staff's suggestion on the COA, on the appropriateness of the COA. So I would defer to staff if they think they need more time to review this, if whatever this information is changes the recommendation or not.
Thank you. The 3 following pages are other COA applications from 2019 with the identical glass that was also approved at this level. It is, again, low E, clear, non-tinted windows. So there's 3 of those pages. I wanted to give you a reference of the building code and why do we specify low E, because these are the energy values we are required to obtain to get building permits. And to achieve these values, low E, clear, in my opinion, is the best way to do it. We don't recommend tints, especially for historic properties. There are historic properties in Coral Gables that have tints. This will not be one of them. The next page is actually a little bit of case law, and I'm not going to get into that because I'm not going to pretend I'm an attorney, I'm not. But Mr. Pallas is. He had showed me this case law where municipalities are beginning to recognize more the need to comply with energy code requirements. We did get 3 letters of support. I have some in large copies if you'd like to examine them. They are on this. Since we just got them this morning, they don't appear in the digital presentation. And then the last few pages is excerpts from the building permit application themselves, identifying which windows are being replaced and which are not. Now, some of the windows have already been approved under the Code Enforcement Board. This is the second phase of windows. There are some windows that are not part of this application that we are happy to add to the application as a condition of approval. And on this image here from the PowerPoint, you can see it's those darker windows. Those are the existing ones. Those are not the new ones. The new ones is the ones you see on the upper right that are more clear, in my opinion, more in conformance with the original design intent of the house. And they are single hung. We didn't change to casement. The original was single hung, and that's what we stuck to. Any questions?
Is that your presentation?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, thank you very much. Board, questions?
This house is right down the street from where I live. I live on San Vicente, and I will tell you, I've met the family, and I know how hard they have worked with this house over the years. There was lots to be done. So anyways, I take my hat off to them. Sorry this issue has come up.
Thank you.
Ms. Alvarez?
How many windows have already been switched out?
So there's probably about, what would you say, George? Maybe about half a dozen that were part of the original approval? Yeah. Maybe about a dozen under this permit, and you're probably left with maybe half a dozen of the very dark ones that we are open to add to this application. The reason why they're not on the application is because the instruction received from the Code Enforcement Board. But this board has the purview to add that as a condition to the approval.
So,
Mr. Silva.
just another question on which ones have been installed now, right? So I'm looking at your handout, your sheet D01. So it's, from what I can see, it's the windows in red, correct? So we're talking the windows that have been replaced to date without a permit, right? That's what this permit is covering? Or am I reading this correctly? Is only the red ones at the rear of the property on the ground floor?
Correct.
And on the second floor, it's kind of that enclosed patio, the rear, and the sides.
Yes, sir. Not the front elevation.
Yeah.
Those were already approved under a previous application.
Alex, if you look at the
So,
sections,
so this so the ones on the, and forgive me for, I just want to make sure I'm clear. The ones on the ones that you just said are approved on a previous application, those are,
It's confusing, and we can take our time on this. The ones that were replaced on the front that were matching were approved at the building department level. They never came to code enforcement,
But
or
they
they
were
never came
installed?
to.
But you were
historic.
never given a permit.
hang on.
Painted. The frames were painted. They weren't replaced. Is that correct?
We have some of them.
They were the awning windows that have been painted. Right. Yeah, so they're not
so,
replaced.
so they're older windows, they're not. Okay.
George Palace, the property owner. Yeah, the entire front is just painted. They're old awning windows, they leak, it's Lejeune Rose, so you hear the rattles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, that was. But thank you. And also, if you note from this picture that's up, the one here in the lower left, not only are they the original, not the original, but the ones that came with the house are much darker and reflective. The ones that are installed, the newer ones are clearer. It has only the low E. They're not tinted. But not only that, the pattern of the grids are more authentic than the ones that the existing windows. In other words, you can see it's 4x3 on top, and these are like 3x3. So all of the newer windows are more authentic. And if you can go back to the original, what do you call that?
The single hung
historic
windows?
historic photo, wherever that may be. But you would see that that's the style. That's actually the Dutch South African style, which is this house is modeled after Group Constancia, which is a winery in South Africa. It has a house very, very similar. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So,
And I also wanted to, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
I just wanted to say that the letters of support are all the people in the block from the community, the Dutch South African community.
Yeah, thank you.
So the windows in the front are the awning windows that were just painted black. So that was part of the painting permit. Sorry. The windows on the front were just painted. They were not replaced with new impact units. Only the ones that are in red on this application are part of this application that are seeking to be legalized.
The ones in the front, we're not looking at, right? Because okay.
But I want to change them all.
I get it.
want to get rid of the old ones, put in the newer ones that are lighter and more authentic.
And what about the Munton pattern on the ones that we're looking at? Is that back to the original?
Now they are, yes. There are some that are going to need to be changed based on the permit drawings, but we've already corrected all of the permit drawing that we've gotten to the point where we could approve up to regarding the style and configuration, not
Right,
the
right.
reflectivity, is appropriate.
Right. So
So,
we're really just looking at the reflectivity. Okay,
Mhm.
that makes it easier for me, because I was so confused.
It's really even reflectivity, it's just the energy saving portion of it gives it like a little greenish tint.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm sorry?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right,
Yeah.
there's no, it's clear glass, it just
Right.
has that feature, right, yeah. I don't know, I don't remember.
We have a longstanding policy of asking for only clear glass, no low E, no reflectivity. Would you be fine with that? I mean, you can have curtains, you can have all kinds of other things. I mean, and it's hurricane glass, so it's going to give you a lot more protection anyway.
But
That
you
means
mean to,
replacing the windows that he's already got installed.
Right.
Yeah.
well, it's not, but you're saying that low E glass would not be permitted?
We have a tradition that we do not. I mean, if you look at our applications when they come here and people are replacing windows, we have a set of criteria that we usually use, okay? No reflectivity, no low E, and just, clear glass.
Well,
Because that's the more historic. They didn't have low E, they didn't, they had clear glass,
I
yeah.
know,
understand.
I was, didn't have that, but I mean, it's something that it's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I mean, I think the code has to come into kind of, I mean, it's not like I'm putting a chain link fence or aluminum carport or something. It's something that's energy efficient and I'm not sure the city can say no to that, or can they?
Yeah, I mean, to speak to that point, technically, yeah, there's an exemption in the Florida Building Code, existing buildings, that has an exemption for historic buildings. So that is, code-wise, that is definitely allowed. And also, there are other ways of compliance with the energy code, should you wish to comply with it in a historic building, right? You can have insulated windows, you can have argon gas windows. I mean, they're more costly, but there are other ways of meeting that energy, prescriptive energy requirement. Other than the tint and the coating.
I know one of my neighbors in the village installed windows within the last, I would say, 2 or 3 years, and they're low E, and they were permitted.
We understand. I mean, there's a lot of things that get permitted that if they came to the board, they wouldn't get approved, because it slipped by. A lot of some of the historic houses in previous years have S-tile roofs, and we all mandate that it be true barrel tile. I have a question. Is that your window over there?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to bring it and show it to people?
Sure.
Okay. You took the time to bring it.
It's a little heavy. It takes 2 people. We'll bring it over.
Sorry?
And while we're getting that window in place, so Kara, one of understanding where we're at now, and understanding that one of your concerns was that is going to establish a precedent for the remaining windows, especially the front windows, which arguably are more important, right? The applicant has sort of said that he wants to replace the front windows as well.
Right.
Putting it out there that maybe we require, as part of the approval of this, and this is, I guess, a question for Stephanie, can we require, let's say the board is of a mind to accept this installation as installed, requiring revision to the muntins, could we require that the applicant replace the front windows with the correct glass, the correct muntins, and so on, as part of this, so that at least that concern of establishing a precedent is mitigated?
Generally, if that's work that they are planning to do and are willing to accept that as a condition of this approval, they could. I don't know that you can mandate them to replace windows that they are not coming forward and asking to replace at this point in time, if that makes sense. But on the other hand, if they did want to replace those windows at a later date, it would require a certificate of appropriateness or working with staff. So
We do want to replace all the doors and windows. This board does have the purview to add that as a condition. We want that condition. The only reason why we're not putting it on this application is due to the instruction given to us by the Code Enforcement Board. So we're happy to accept that condition. We want that condition.
What was the instruction from the Code Enforcement Board?
Only include the windows that were identified by Code Enforcement.
They're trying to deal with the violation.
Right.
Yeah. So code enforcement is dealing with the violation. If you are proactively also asking for a certificate of appropriateness for those front windows to be swapped, I think that's something that this board could approve. And
Absolutely.
windows that are not subject to a code enforcement board order or ticket are not in the purview of the code enforcement board at this point of time.
Yeah, we happily accept that condition.
And,
The
and I'm not speaking for the board, and I'm not saying that is going to be accepted. I was just asking, could we mandate that as a requirement?
You could direct staff to, yes, approve that. idea.
And I believe it would be more about proactively issuing a certificate of appropriateness for those windows, including those in the certificate, rather than mandating them to change those windows, if that
But
makes sense.
I would want to see the Muntin pattern and all, so maybe it's just a direction of staff to work with them to make them.
We accept that condition.
I would be cautious about approving something that you have not seen.
Sure. What we're really here for today is the use of the low E. And the president of this board is that they have approved the identical clear low E in the past. It's not exactly that all of these applications have been disapproved.
Where was that this board approved it? Because I started working here in 1990.
That is not under question, right?
And I retired in 2019, and I don't think I approved any of that administratively, nor did the board.
Yeah,
What has happened over the years is that we used to mandate clear glass, and then clear glass to one manufacturer became something else. So then we would say no tint, no reflectivity. And then now with low E, that becomes something else. So clear is not actually clear anymore, but there is a clear glass. So what we now ask is no tint, no reflectivity, no low E. And to Alex's point, we are able to work with the building department to remove that condition that you meet an energy criteria that a historic house will never meet. So we have gone to clear glass in instances where it's been.
But this is clear glass.
Yeah, I got it.
This is clear glass.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that the body or the city has the authority to deny an energy saving, measure. There's a case that happened in Key West, which is part of our.
Can you please speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. There was a case that happened in Key West where, they have their historic district as well, and mostly tin roofs. And a homeowner painted it white because there was this white paint that was reflective and heat saving. He had all the specs on it, and the code enforcement.
I'm curious about the one in that district that you said has this similar one that's done within the past few years. We should look up the permit and see whether it was even reviewed by the historic department. Because, there's new systems that are put in all the time, computer systems, and very often it's a glitch and it doesn't get to the historic department and a permit is issued. I mean, that's a bad glitch, but you just don't know how that would have happened.
We have a list of the COA properties. We can give them to
Please
staff.
speak into the microphone.
We have a list of COA properties that have been to this board, and we can give that list to staff to cross-examine them.
You're welcome to do that, but I'm also going to direct your attention back to the staff report. Okay, I want you to look at that, and I want you to think about it, because right now it's a recommendation to deny. So I think that if you're interested in doing what it is you're saying you want to do, we're replacing all the windows. I think you should consider what those ramifications are going to be. We can continue to come back and talk about that. We can argue about all kinds of things, but what is it that you want? You want to move forward, or we can continue to argue. So I think that that's really a decent point to consider at this time.
I've got a question. Who's the window subcontractor?
American Impact.
American Impact?
Yeah.
And what was their, like, did they give you any guidance, or what did they say as far as?
No, I specified clear glass, and they said this is clear glass, but it's low E, and, it's acceptable.
And they haven't taken any responsibility or anything, or?
Well, I don't know what they can do. I mean,
You haven't purchased the windows already, have you?
I'm sorry?
You haven't purchased the windows already? I mean,
No,
you're
I
already
haven't.
installed?
They're installed.
I mean, but not all of them, but the ones in the front and things have not been.
No, there's just two, or this one and another one.
The think music is on.
Like Jeopardy. Final Jeopardy.
I think part of the issue, and this would be like a separate hearing, that the city doesn't have a standard. Being an architect, I'm a technician of sorts. And if there was a limitation on reflectivity that was adopted by this board, people would be happy to abide by it. But as an architect, without that standard, it's hard for me to instruct clients. Mr. Palace, who unfortunately has already made these installations, and future projects. Without that standard that we don't have, it becomes an arbitrary requirement, and it's not
But
clear.
you know to
It
go
would
to
go
the
to the
historic
board.
department
Yes.
and ask them, and to get a permit.
And it
You
goes
of all
through so
people
many
know that.
hands. It
Well,
goes
recall-
shop drawing
recall I
review,
wasn't part
like
of
so many things.
But you're also saying that,
I get it, but.
but you're also saying that it's, they didn't go to historic or it slipped through the cracks, and many of these
Well,
properties have it.
It just
so-
surprises me that there would be windows in that district that have that tint on it.
Yeah.
I would be shocked that they went through the historic department.
But you acknowledge that they do.
Well, I'm just
and-
saying, maybe that happened. I don't know. I honestly don't know, have no way of knowing. But staff should look into it, because it shouldn't happen again if that's the case.
Ms. Rolando?
I mean, I have, this is like a self-inflicted wound.
Yeah.
Because proceeding with the permit, if you had applied for the permit, this would not have happened. Okay, you had your.
No, but
you-
she's saying that probably it could have, that's the other thing.
No, I'm not.
No, highly unlikely.
What could
One at a
possibly
time,
have-
please.
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Rolando?
I'm sorry.
Okay, and let's just, as they say in Texas, put the skunk on the table. This is a really important property, highly visible. So that's what I'm struggling with, is you have windows that look as if they're highly appropriate for a 1980s house, instead of this magnificent structure that's a major addition to Coral Gables, plus part of the village. So I'm struggling how, I get what you're saying about low E, and some of this is kind of an awakening for me to understand that low E has properties that we need to address. What I have a bigger problem with is the tint and the highly reflective, because it looks like stuff you'd see on a skyscraper. So I
want to get rid of that. That's the point.
Okay, so, I think I probably have a little more flexibility on the low E stuff. I have a big problem with the highly reflective. And I'd like to deal with the planned windows on the front facade. So I don't have an answer, but I'm struggling.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're suggesting that to remove all those ugly, reflective, very dark reflective windows, which are not even the correct pattern of the Dutch South African with, and if you look in that upper corner, with the correct pattern, and look, you could see through it, and there was that other picture you could see into the house. I mean, it's not like, when you say it's tinted, I don't like that. I don't think it's clear glass. It just has this very kind of.
It's green.
Yeah, whatever.
Not clear.
Whatever it is. You know, it is let me tell you, it's a large property. It's a large house. You know, I am the caretaker of this property for Coral Gables. I'm not putting an aluminum carport or, you know, and Miss
I think
Ebert
have
knows
people
that.
throw themselves in front of the bulldozer. No, thank you.
I'm going to comment here, if I may. You're asking for forgiveness on something that has been done, okay? We're looking for a way, we're trying to tell you that if you want forgiveness, you know, listen to us.
Yes.
Okay? So if you'd like the forgiveness, okay, rather than a denial today, listen to what's being said, okay? We don't want, we traditionally do not do low E. So if you'd like the windows, okay, and you'd like it approved, we can probably put together a motion that would allow you to do that and let you get past your code enforcement issue, okay? Otherwise, this individual is going to vote against you, okay? And I think several of the other people here, and you're not going to have a quorum. So let's focus on that.
What Ms. Rolando was saying, if I followed her, was that, you know, that, yes, get rid of these skyscraper-type windows that are reflective, and put in the you know, if you want to call it lesser of two evils.
Call it clear glass.
I'm sorry?
Call it clear glass.
It is clear glass.
Call it clear glass.
But Michael, are you saying?
The low E actually has a green tint to it, okay? Because of the glass actually has to be slightly tinted, and the way the glass is made, and you know, Mr. Silva and you know, knows better than I do, but it comes up with a color, okay? And there were no colors in original glass. So it was pretty clear. So you know, I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's the case, and that's why we insist on this. So if you want to match what was going on in the original, which I think you're trying to do with the with the windows and the mutton style and everything like that, we're all for you, okay? You know, like I said, you want to get past the code issue, listen to us, and let's see what we can do to compromise that.
What about the ones, though, that are already installed with the low E?
Well, they wanted to restore all, replace all the windows.
The front.
I know they're already in, but the ones
I think
they're in the back.
I think we're all kind of confused.
Yeah.
Just real quick, the low E is, you see in the upper right corner, right?
Yeah.
That's installed. That they put that in. That's impact. Right. The ones on the left here that are reflective and the dark black one there that he's pointing at, no, to the left, that are existing on the house that are that they obviously want to eventually replace.
Correct.
But which one is the code violation for? For the existing windows or for the new windows?
For the new ones.
The new ones.
The ones that are clear.
Yeah.
We're trying to remove the reflective.
And just to clarify, the bottom left photo where it says photo taken by city staff on the left side, which are those?
Existing.
Existing, not the new low E windows.
No,
correct. Those are the ones we're trying to remove.
The property is very long on Lejeune.
Yeah, but hold on, but because if you're not, they're going to get confused. I think, because it's kind of confusing because we're talking about low E and reflective. So the house already has some reflective windows on it that are existing. I guess everyone's agreeing with that? We're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I want to remove.
Yes, correct. But that's not what the violation's for. The violation's for the windows that are basically on the upstairs and a little bit in the back or whatever, the back of the house, that are low E. He's saying.
Along the back?
Yeah.
Like there
Right there.
and wrap around?
Yes.
Okay.
So they're low E. He's claiming they're clear, but they're clear low E, which
they're
low E
clear
has a green
green,
tint to it.
These are what we want.
And I just
This
want
is
to,
what we
Mr.
wanna
Chair, if
remove.
I can, I just want to sort of focus the scope of what is before you today, because I know we're talking about other windows, et cetera. I think what you are looking for today is the after-effect approval of those second floor, if we went back to that second floor window,
those
and
there.
those 9 or 10 locations that were noted in red in the COA application. So while you may be having discussions about replacement of other windows and the characteristics of those existing windows, what is before you today is only a COA for those unpermitted windows that were just installed. So
What I was,
while I understand that the applicant may want to discuss future plans, I think it may be helpful to focus on the 9 or 10 windows that are at hand today, and that any other future windows would need to come back for either approval with staff or an STOA as appropriate.
Okay, so do you have one more question? Because we're going to close this down and come just be careful.
Cara, excuse me, Cara, the ones that are, the windows that are the subject of the code violation, are they the proper configuration? They're all low E clear, but they have this tint associated with the low E
As
specification.
installed, they are not all correct because the permit reflected what was installed and went through a few revisions. So there will be some windows that were installed that need to be changed to match the original configuration.
Which is the muttons.
Yes, which is
You
the
can
can
take the
be-
muttons off and put the muttons
can-
back
one of
on.
them's a
Yeah.
casement windows.
Okay,
They're gonna have to
so-
change one of them.
And this is
So
gonna be-
they'll need to replace like 1 or 2 to make them match the proper configuration.
Yeah.
So the remediation entails replacing the muttons.
Well, two-part.
And
It depends, because if you go off of staff doesn't want the low E. So it's rip out the windows and put new windows clear. The second part of it is, if we were to decide to say, let's let them keep the low E, they still have to reconfigure some of the buttons.
Okay,
Understood.
gentlemen, I think we're
Thank
done
you.
with you guys. Okay, so we're just going to stick here with the board. We're going to close this portion of the meeting. Okay, and
I mean,
and
there's
just come
two-
back to the board.
There's two options. It's either let them keep the low E and make the new ones that they're gonna change clear,
No,
or
it's only,
have them,
no.
oh,
Ms.
all right.
Ms. Toothaker said that it's really only about, the existing windows that were
Yeah.
put in without a permit. It does not have anything to do with any new window whatsoever.
correct.
Okay.
But there is no application before you today for any windows on the front.
But I wanted to mention that, I mean, and I heard it all as I sat through all these other hearings, that you approve things with conditions, and the condition could be that I change all those front windows, which are ugly and rattly and all that. That's what I'm,
Let us deal with the issue at hand, and then we can see about doing that as
you know,
well.
that was what I proposed.
I
And then the
understand.
whole house would be uniform, beautiful, and, you know.
It's really difficult to disappoint people, as you know, but we all try to do the best that we can for our overall community. And I hope that you'll, whatever decision we make, I hope that you'll keep that in the spirit of everything. And it may not be in your favor, it may be in your favor, but, this board is charged with, trying to preserve as best as we can with individuals, the historic integrity of the buildings, okay? And you got a 100-year-old building, and that's what we're trying to make sure, you're trying to update it, we're trying to help you, okay? You've got a permit violation, you didn't put things, you didn't take out a permit. So we're here to deal with that. You're asking us to forgive you for something that you did illegally, okay? That you violated, the code. So, like I said, let's see what we can come up with here.
All
So
right.
thank you. Well, you're welcome to stay. We're going to pass this back to the board for now for a discussion so that we can move forward on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, board. Mr. Garcia Pons.
So this is a question for staff, not the owner.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Please feel free to sit down, sir. We'll
Yeah,
call you
I'm
back
sorry.
if we
I'm
have a
sorry,
question.
Judge. I mean,
So the windows in question today, do they have the appropriate mutton pattern or they do not?
Okay, so there's 2 parts to this. The windows that are installed, most of them have the correct mutton pattern. There are 2 or 3 on a side elevation, and I think one of the doors on the rear, as installed, will need to be replaced because one is a casement, there's something with the door that's wrong too. So for the most part, yes.
Could you identify the ones that need to be replaced regardless?
I think that they are the ones that are bubbled on these drawings that he handed out, if I am not mistaken.
Just to be clear, when you say replaced, are you saying
That they don't meet staff's standards with the
for the
mutton pattern.
muttons or the actual
Muntins only. My question
muttons
was
only?
muntins.
Okay,
Right,
okay,
so-
so we're not taking out the whole window, we're just talking about the muttons, okay.
Well, don't know how the wind is.
Well, yeah, correct, assuming,
So if you could tell us what sheet you're looking at?
So if you go to the last 2 pages of this app, this
What's the
handout,
page
Talking
on the bottom right?
DO.
AA 1.2,
A 1.2?
what was it?
What?
Which page?
A 1.2. It's the second to last page in the booklet. There are a couple of the doors that you see, and it's kind of hard to see, but they're bubbled on the bottom,
Okay.
the French doors. And then on the next page, which doesn't have a number for some reason.
And the window on the right also, that's bubbled?
No. That's
Just the two
that was
doors.
existing to remain. So it's the doors. And so then on the side that we go to, the last page in the booklet has no number. It's the north elevation. The 2 upper windows were drawn where they were as casement windows, which I believe that's what was installed. Were they?
I'm looking at the submitted
Yes, on
north elevation, you said?
on here, these 2, they were initially submitted as casements but I don't know if that's what got installed. I can't see them. So we made them change them to single hung to match the rest of them as appropriate. So my guess is that they were casements. Okay.
So that's north window, that's the north facade, sheet A13, the 2 second
2
story,
upper,
and not the double window, just the 2
correct,
single windows.
correct.
And that's north facing.
That's it.
And those are inappropriate.
Currently inappropriate,
form, not
yes.
color. Got it.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a violation for low E, and then we have a couple windows and a couple of doors that the mullion pattern is not
correct.
Perfect.
Not consistent.
Okay.
And Mr. Garcia Pons, just to clarify, the violation was for work without a permit, not necessarily low E.
Thank you very much. Work without a permit. So now we're here for the low E, and in these 4 cases, the 2 doors and windows patterns as well.
Correct. But those 4, as part of his permitting process, the revisions, we worked it out so that the current permit, the only issue that we have now is the tint and reflectivity
So
of this.
it will be replaced.
Yes.
So those windows are going to be replaced correctly.
Yes.
Got it.
Mr. Silva?
No, I just wanted, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Replace the muttons or?
Just the muttons.
So just those 2 doors and 2 windows, they're going to be correct in form. And then the
So
only.
they have to be replaced,
Right.
not just the
Totally
muttons?
Those 4,
Yes.
those 2 doors and those 2 windows replaced no matter what, and they're going to get replaced properly as far as the mutton pattern is concerned. Now, the issue still maintains with whether it's going to be clear or low E. That's separate.
Okay.
So we have 4 openings that are being changed to meet staff's recommendation, which is great. And then we're here have all the other installed windows are the low E. So I wasn't clear, so
Yeah,
thank you.
and I have
for-
to say,
for
I
that
mean,
clarification.
that's, regardless if there's no other permit or not, that's a huge applause because he could have gone way sideways with those windows and installed something totally different, so.
So, no question. I'll pause.
No,
Okay.
you clarified what I was going to ask. Yeah.
And so then we have the low E versus non-low E is where we are now with the installed windows that are to remain. And they are not the front facade. The front facade is east facing. The windows that were replaced were north, south, and west facing. And we know in South Florida, heat and which walls are hotter than other walls. North is not as hot as south, east is not as hot as west. So I would like to say that out loud so that we can think about what I believe are now 2 things to consider. One is the code violation at hand, and then the request by the applicant to potentially think about the east elevation, which for the city attorney, does if we choose to do two things, do they have to be separate motions or they need to be rolled into one?
It depends on what those two things are.
If one of the motions is regarding the code violations and the other motion is the windows that have not been changed,
I would ask you to limit your motions to the application before you today, which is only those 10 windows. There have been no drawings, there has been no notice to the world for the east windows.
understood. Okay.
Can there
thank
be a
you.
direction to staff?
There can be direction to staff to work with an applicant, of course, but I would not want to the extent that a later window would require an SCOA, and I don't know, I will defer to Kara on that. I wouldn't want this board to make a decision before an application comes before it that may come before it. You can't,
Yeah,
if
that's
that makes
clear.
sense.
I know Mr. Silva had a good point earlier, and I just wasn't sure how to handle
Yeah.
it.
And just, you know, to the extent you think about the notice and the posting and the staff having the opportunity to view actual shop drawings, et cetera, I wouldn't want to limit staff's ability to review that by this board approving something.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Yeah, discussions with us?
Of, of the windows and doors, other than the 4 that are being replaced, is the mutton configuration on those remaining proper?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that question, but I believe I
Sorry.
answered that already, yes.
Yeah, okay. Other than the 4 apertures or windows and doors that are being replaced in their entirety, is the mutton configuration on the remaining doors and windows correct?
Yes.
Whether the newly installed
Correct.
are the ones that are subject to the code violation?
Yes. Can I say to them what I just asked you?
Yes.
So, and to your point about the motions, if you all, as Alex suggested, are leaning towards, you know, leaving them as is and then approving clear glass on the Lejeune facing side, it would become, as Stephanie was saying, not part of your motion, but the next application that comes in for the windows on the front would either come in as clear and staff would approve them at a staff level and you would never see them, or they come in as low E and I say you're going to the board, and then you all can make that direction at that time. So to clarify that question.
Mr. Silva?
Yeah, thank you, because I know we're supposed to limit our discussion to what's before us, but in the staff report, it was brought up that there is a concern that this would cause a precedent for this particular house. I just want to be clear that whatever we decide, this is a standalone thing and it is not a precedent, right? Whatever we choose to decide, every case is supposed to be decided on its own merit. Every application is on its own merit, including an application for new windows that are not before us today.
That's
So
right.
I hope everybody's understanding. Right?
And I think that's the helpfulness in keeping them separate.
Further discussion? Do we need dinner? I see some really low energy, not low E. Okay. Like a motion?
One more question.
Please.
What's the total number of windows that we're talking about that in this code violation? I mean, how many? Well,
No.
somebody, yeah, do we know? I mean, okay,
No, it's for staff.
okay. Does staff know?
1, 2, 3. Are you counting these as 2? 13?
I mean, this is the anchor house of the village.
He's showing it
There's
as
only
13.
5. Huh?
He's showing it as 13.
13.
Out of how many total in the house?
It's more than.
No, this,
22, yeah. No, no,
Oh, got it,
22,
yeah, okay.
red.
Are there 22 windows to be, that were installed in violation of the code?
2, 3, 4, 5,
Is that the number?
9, 10, 11, 12, Yeah, there's about 13 on the front, so they're about even.
That's what the plans reflect.
Yeah, so there's 17 existing that are to be changed at a later date.
No. How many were installed
13.
with, not in compliance without a permit, without the,
13.
that's the
Basically
issue.
half.
So it's 20, I mean, Mr. Silva's counting up
I'm
20.
counting 19, if you count the corner windows as 2, it's 22. But,
Yeah, without a permit.
it's sort of academic, right? Like it's.
I didn't do the math. That's all.
Yes.
I'd like the opinion of the design professionals on this board. Would it look weird to have low E clear for some of the windows and clear non-low E for those that may get replaced in the future?
I don't
think it
that's
would.
really the
I
question.
think it would.
I think it would. And if there was a condition, I was looking to see if maybe some of the windows were interior facing, if you had a courtyard or a backyard, but this is so prominent, and the second floor windows, are not on the front, but they are very visible.
Anna, could you
The
speak
windows are
into
so
the-
visible because of the.
They're
the
visible because of the-
Situation of the house.
Ms. Spain?
That it's basically 270.
Right.
Yeah.
Ms. Spain, I'd
Particularly
like to hear from you.
Particularly the second floor windows are visible.
Please speak
What,
to the
I'm
microphone.
sorry, particularly the second floor windows are visible, whatever street you're on, whether it's Lejeune or that back street, I can't think of what it is. Oh, San Vicente, that's where you are.
That's what.
Of course. I myself will not approve the green tint on the low E. I can't vote in favor of that, particularly on this house. Again, if it was a courtyard situation, I could do that, but not on the situation where it's visible from the street. And it will be visible from the street and possibly have then actual clear windows on other facades. I think it's very odd. And it's not something I'm comfortable with on this important home. And kudos for you for buying it. And I know that it's a labor of love, but, I think you'd be happier if they all matched and they were clear.
I guess the question that Javier asked, I just think a subcontractor that works in the Gables on historic home, I imagine they would have to have
Can you
encountered
speak up, please,
historic
Ms.
homes.
Alvarez?
It goes through so many steps. There's a shop drawing review, there's a review of a cost estimate, there's field visits. I mean, there'd be so many steps where someone would have give the owner a heads up and say this has to go through the city. I'm just, shocked by that.
I'm so surprised that a window contractor wouldn't understand that you have to pull a permit in Coral Gables for anything, but certainly windows. So shame on them.
Have any questions down here over here on the left? Anybody? Okay, let's think about a motion here. Mr. Garcia-Ponce. I'm going to read you what the staff has said in their recommendation. Staff conclusion. The work proposed in this application detracts from the integrity of the historic building and is inconsistent with the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, and I will add what we have applied here as the Historic Board as well. Staff has consistently conditioned window and door approvals with the condition that glass be clear, no tint, no reflectivity, no low E. The windows and doors installed on the property are both tinted and reflective. The effect detracts from the historic site and district. It is also important to note that the windows and doors installed with a permit occur in the rear and sides of the home. The windows visible from the front road are still awning type, although they were painted to match the windows. Although the installed windows and doors on the rear and sides of the home are highly visible due to the triangular nature of the site at the intersection of the two streets, additionally, approval of the installed units will set a precedent for the windows on the front facade when they are replaced in the future. Therefore, Historical Resources Department recommends the following: a motion to deny the after-the-fact design approval for the installation of impact windows and doors on the property located at 6710 Lejeune Road, and gives the legal description. So,
Cara,
Ms. Rolando.
the report says they're reflective. Is that accurate?
They're not mirrored. Like, it's like the ones on the, the bottom of the ones that are there now are more sort of a mirrored tint. So
ones are not.
reflectivity to me is the green reflection that's coming off.
Okay, I'm looking at the flag.
Yeah.
That flag I'm looking at in that window.
Yeah, it's green.
So, it's reflective. Now, whether or not if there was a room behind it, it may not be, but it's,
Well, glass is reflective. If you're walking by a storefront, you see your reflection. But is it mirror-like?
Well, does the glass have other than natural reflective qualities? That's really the question at hand. Is it natural glass or has it been enhanced? Okay.
I mean, you're welcome to come look at it. It's here. So if you want to walk around it, be my guest.
Let me ask the board something, right?
Mr. Silva.
Are we looking at this as an all or nothing proposition? Or are we considering some, yeah,
Let's look at, if it's an all or nothing, it's a denial.
yeah.
I know that's not in the staff report,
Would be
but the
my
Yeah,
precedent.
no, I'm just thinking maybe the second floor is required because that's sort of visible and around, and maybe the back facade can stay. I don't know, right? Like,
There's also an issue with, forgiveness of, shall we call it illegal activity, okay?
Yeah.
And which I think is really the primary issue here.
Understood.
Okay? The applicant or someone on his behalf has acted in a manner inconsistent, with the code, okay? And so there's a code violation. So do you forgive the code violation, okay? And then say, well, whatever you do in the future is okay, as long as you follow this. In other words, I'll give you partial, or to say, no, you really need to correct what it is that you did that was in violation of the code, okay? So there's that. And that, to me,
It's not a criteria to be considered, but I understand that it is a fact of the case of how it came before you today. But, you should be looking at the criteria and the code for the certificate of appropriateness. And how they got to you today is not necessarily one of those criteria, though I understand that factually it is how it came to you today.
so I hope that everybody in the audience understands that, okay? And so, we're not the parole board.
Welcome to our pickle, because
Coming, hang on.
Okay,
Hang on just 1 second. I want Stephanie to listen carefully. Okay, council, we're getting ready to make a motion. Council, Mr. Garcia Ponce.
okay, I'm gonna make, listening to the board, I'm gonna make a motion for discussion. It would be a motion to approve the after-the-fact design approval for the installation of impact-resistant windows and doors on the west elevation on the property located at 6710 Lejeune Road, and approve the issuance of an SCOA for those windows. All the other windows may not be low E, must be clear, non-low E, with the proper Muntin and mullion patterns to be worked out with staff. And the reason for the motion was based on the conversation that we had, is if this were facing a courtyard, if this were facing something else, if this were, looking at the plans, with the exception of I think it's the dining room window, all of the windows would be facing south only and not have two different windows in them. So that the front, the dining room, kitchen room would be the only one that would have the ability to have two different, a clear window and then a low E window in the back. And that would be at that would be up to the applicant to accept or not accept, as far as if they want to do, if they want to keep the low E window in the back. My suggestion would be, my motion is for only the low E facing west. All others must be clear, non-low E.
And you're saying even on the second floor west?
All of it. The entire western elevation.
Okay, hang on just a second.
And that's motion
that?
for discussion and for seconds.
Okay. No.
I don't know if there's a second or not, but I will clarify
Just
the
a
motion.
clarification. When you say west, Caesar, there are some, so on the second floor, the second floor, it kind of juts out, and there is a western, on the study, there is a western facade and a north and a
Inclusive
south.
of those two corner windows, all four.
All four would remain.
What's the name of that room?
The study?
The study,
On
including the study.
VO2?
Including the study. And, yeah,
The study and other western-facing windows.
got it.
Okay, but not these two, right?
So, Mr. Garcia Pons, I understand your motion to be approving the mutton pattern that staff is okay with on all of the windows covered by the COA, which is, we believe, 13 or so, and then approving the use of a low E window for those 4 westward-facing windows on the second floor, and I'm happy to be corrected, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 windows and 2 doors on the western portion of the first floor. I believe that's the correct number, but we can clarify
All
that.
western-facing windows, inclusive of all the windows in the study upstairs.
Okay, and doors.
And doors.
And doors, okay. And any other windows whose muntins are approved by the COA must be clear, non-low E.
That is my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Garcia Pons. We have a second by Ms. Rolando. And do we have any further discussion of the board? Hearing none, let's call the motion.
Ms. Alvarez?
No.
Mr. Durana?
Yes.
Ms. Spain?
No.
Ms. Everett?
No.
Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
Reluctantly, yes.
So you have it. So what does it mean? Motion passes.
5-3. Motion passes.
Don't do this again. You got off lightly, you know.
Motion is completed and has been voted on. The guidance to staff regarding any of the windows, is it too late for that? Or can we?
We've got other, I don't want to bring up the other windows at all at this time.
Yes.
I think staff has expressed that if there are other low E windows on this property, they will be coming back to you.
Yeah, don't want to bring that up at this time. We've passed this motion, it's done. We have another item on the agenda.
Thank you.
I hope you've heard us.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, this is not precedent, and I'm telling you, we have let you off of this thing, and there's not, and you can argue low E all you want, but it's not coming back, okay? To the board.
Thank you.
So, get a permit next time. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final item here on the agenda. It is 20 minutes to 8. Let's make sure that, let's see if we can get in and out of here pretty quickly. This is item 258945, case file COASP 2025-016, an application for the issuance of a special certificate of appropriateness for the property at 516 Caligula Avenue, contributing resource within the French Country Village, legally lots 6, 7, and 8, block 125, Coral Gables Riviera, section 10, plat book 31, page 1, Miami-Dade. Application requests design approval for a copper chimney cap. The board will recall that we've seen this application previously and asked them to come back with a revised design for approval on this specific item, the copper chimney cap.
Correct. When this was approved, when you all approved the slate roof in October of 2024, this proposal was shown on their plans but was not included in the application as an ask. So it was excluded from review at that time. So they are back to ask for a copper chimney cap, whatever I just said, chimney cap. And again, staff recommends denial. We have visual proof that there was nothing on the chimney cap at the time of its construction. It's a conjectural feature, and we are not in favor of the application. So with that being said, I will turn it over to the applicant, whose PowerPoint is loaded.
I haven't sworn in, no. I do. Frederick Bates, owner of 516 Caligula Ave. Thanks for having me back. I tried to share my screen. I don't know if, oh, is that me?
We have a PowerPoint presentation that was previously submitted, but I don't, otherwise you're not sharing your screen if it's different than the PowerPoint.
Can I share it? I wanted to show you what I'm trying to do, but I also wanted, if you're up for it, I wanted to show you the progress.
CGTV, if you could please make, and I'm not sure what your name is on the Zoom.
It's Frederick Bates.
If you could please make Mr. Bates a co-host so he can share his presentation and help us display that on the TV in here. Or
full screen. Okay, so thank you again. Sorry for the delay. I think most of you here when I did the original application for the slate roof, and I know some of the things were a little bit contentious, and there were some advice from the board that we accepted, and we moved forward. And I'm proud to say that we're sort of well underway, probably a month away from actually finishing this roof. It started in January, and it's going about 6 months, so it's a little bit of a labor of love. But I'm going to just focus on this, and then if you'd like, I'd just take you back to the project and show you a few pictures in case you're interested in seeing the progress. So on the original chimney, it's kind of like a cone, typical cone. Please forgive this picture of something I found on the internet. What I really want to do is just simply wrap that cone in 20-ounce copper. No, ugly sort of hat on top of it, nothing. It's the exact same structure, just wrapped in copper, and even the bricks will still be visible. So just a tiny little ledge. So on the base of the top of the chimney, it's kind of concaved. Keeps cracking, keep having lots of issues. We have a huge oak tree over it, so there's kind of two reasons why I want to do this. One, we've been in the house since 2019, and getting the people up there to continually fix this and fix the cracks and fix all the seeds that are getting in there and repaint, it's kind of a dangerous job, and we don't want to be doing this all the time. So we just think it makes sense, and it will last at least 100 years if it's 20-ounce copper, like the rest of what we're trying to do with the roof. And then the second is just more romantic. We have a lot of copper that's gone up onto this roof in the project. So as the roof patinas and as a lot of the the copper patinas, we just wanted to have it match the rest of the style of the roof. And over the years, hopefully that's going to really patina nicely. So this picture is a little bit more than what I want to do. Exactly what I want to do is just take that exact same cone, just wrap it in copper. We have a craftsman that's been doing copper for 40 years. He's actually a refugee from Ukraine. He's in doing old world churches and stuff like that around Eastern Europe, and I'll show you some of the work that he's done, but he's just going to wrap that and hopefully protect it. So that's kind of the project. You can see a little bit of progress on the left side of the top roof there with the slate and the fish scale cut. But basically, to walk you back through the project real quick, what I was proposing to do, and that was already approved, was basically taking the Ludovici kind of ceramic terracotta tiles and bring it back to slate. The contentious thing, I think, was having fish scale cut slate. There was some color discussions. We ended up just doing monocolor. So I think a lot of you remember from that time, we had a good discussion. But I had brought the original book from 1924 from one of the architects in the French Country Village, kind of modeled it a bit after what you see from the book, which was that fish scale cut. We just had this romantic vision of the house from the south of France and kind of wanted to try to bring this to the house and do it better than maybe the original was done. And thank you all for that that approved it. We had proposed bringing in a slate master from Pennsylvania to do this project. We couldn't find a lot of great slate workers here in South Florida or in Florida at all. So we ended up bringing in a team, a specialized team from Pennsylvania. The team was, basically the founder of the team was the person that wrote the Slate Roof Bible, 3 editions this thick. I mean, it's kind of for slate nerds, or for craftsmen that are learning the trade. So we actually did get that team to relocate from Pennsylvania from January, and they're still here, still working on the house. We had all the slate actually sourced from quarries in the north of Spain that would have been the same quarries that would have provided slate to the south of France. So nobody's going to really know that when they look at the roof. But from us, from a romantic point of view, it was just sort of, we wanted to be authentic. So we had, just tons and tons of slate hand cut in quarries in Spain to this fish scale. So that, it took a little bit longer than we thought. We were 2 months late on the slate coming in from Spain to the United States. So, but it arrived and it's underway. We also had proposed doing a lot of copper on the roof, so double locking seam copper on non-historical parts of the roof and removing some dormers, and also putting copper on the pool house. These were just some of the original concept pictures of what we were kind of shooting for in terms of the fish scale cut, and some of the original discussions on the colors, but we ended up just going with the regular sort of darker gray, black color. We had shown some precedent from the neighborhood. We had shown some pictures of what this slate company was doing in terms of copper and the double locking seams. Some diagrams of the house that we had originally shown. The gold parts was where we were going to put the copper, and then some of the other copper detailing in different parts of the house. We also had proposed doing some pretty interesting patterns in terms of the pool house with individually bent sort of copper diamonds all around the pool house. And so I think a lot of you remember some of these things, but at the time we had put this in, but it wasn't a part of, as Cara said, it wasn't a part of the original. But all we wanted to do was just put a copper wrap around that cone. So that's why I'm here today. But I figured maybe it would be interesting for you all to kind of see some of the progress. So these are actual real updated pictures of some parts of the house. So This is sort of the tower where we have the elevator shaft and some other things. So we, we did do, all that slate on the top there. You can see the copper detailing, which is on the sort of the hips. They're all stepped up. We did this for two reasons. One, for basically design, and the second because it's incredibly, sturdy. So if we have a hurricane, all these things are really wrapped into the slate and just, really secured into the roof. So it protects, any of the slate getting pulled off by a hurricane. You can see that in other parts of the house. And forgive me for some of the pictures. This isn't all really all done. So you just, you can get a feel for it. This was the pool house that we were talking about doing some of the diamonds sort of cut copper. Closer up, this guy did just a fantastic job. I don't know, it's maybe not everybody agrees, but he did every single one of these diamonds hand by hand, piece by piece, and just kind of did it on the fly. There was no design. It was all sort of an artistic job, and I think it came out pretty good. If you were to be looking from that tower at the house, I know it's kind of far away, and this is still underway with all the scaffolding there, but you can kind of see some of the slate coming together. You can't really see the fish scale cut in these, but you can see a mix between, the copper on the modern structure on the left side of the house, and then where the slate is really the original historic part of the house from the back view. And then some aerial shots. This is actually not the historical part of the house. This is the garage. So this was an addition 20 some odd years ago. One of the controversial things we talked about was half of it being slate, half of it being the copper, and so this is actually how it turned out. So it's already sort of patining, getting patinaed. It's turning brown pretty quick, but you can see that we did fully execute that mix between copper and slate, and I think it came out pretty good. But you can see some of the close-ups. So the detailing of the fish scale was pretty nice. We are going to come back and ask for a color change on, all the garage doors and all the shutters. We're going to try to go to a really light green, Frenchy kind of style, but, we'll deal with that when we get there. But I just wanted to give everybody sort of a feel of what we were trying to pull off. I know it was theory before, but, this is some of the reality in terms of where it sits today. And this is the left side of the original sort of historical structure. It's not quite done yet. We're still working on all of this, but just give you a feel for the craftsmanship. And so the people that were, really trying to wrap this thing in copper, I mean, they're experts in what they do. This guy from the Ukraine, he's been doing it for 40 years. He's been doing it in the old world, and I just want him to put that touch on that crown of the house. So that's all I'm really asking for, and I'm hoping it's not as contentious as the last session, because I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for permission. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the issue is solely about the copper cap, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Kauth, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we're good, thank you. We'll close this portion of the meeting. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak for or against this item? Hearing none, we'll close that. Come back to the board. Board discussion. Hearing none.
I believe so. It's
either concrete or clay, one or the other.
What did you say, Carl?
It's either concrete or clay.
The existing chimney? Was that the question?
What the cylinder is.
Appears to be concrete, yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Mr. Dorano.
I don't find it offensive. I mean, there's already copper details on the roof. This is just one small piece. I think you could always remove it later. It'll actually protect the concrete. But I understand staff's point, why they don't want it. But I think he might have even put it up there and nobody would have noticed. So
Kara would have, trust
yeah,
me.
Kara maybe, but most of us driving by would have been, not noticed it. So I don't know. It's a small item, but I'm not.
It's a small item. You're right.
Yeah.
Comments, Ms. Everett?
This block of Caligula, really has very little traffic on it anyway. Yeah, it's my neighborhood too. He's worked so hard. I almost feel like, yeah, anyways, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we're in love with
Yeah.
the romanticism of it, and this makes no economic sense what we're doing whatsoever, but it is a beautiful 100-year anniversary present. It's turning 100 next year, and so we had a problem with the roof, and we said, you know, how do you like the paint? And we ran into the storm and tried to do it bigger, better, and more beautiful than ever, and something that's going to last hopefully over 100 years.
My next husband is going to be someone.
Mr. Rondo.
I did not like the example that, I thought it was a little frou-frou,
Yeah.
but it's French. But I don't have an issue with wrapping, and especially if it can be removed. And I like copper a lot, and there's a lot of copper in my house, so I get
Go
it.
by the standards. Mr. Silva.
I mean, I feel like we've already made an exception for the roof. So what's one more trim piece on it? I mean, the roof is not what was there originally. The copper trimming was not necessarily what was there. So I think adding
You
this.
disappointed me once, just do it again, I mean, honestly.
Okay. Ms. Alvarez? Anything?
I don't want to disagree with Kara, but I agree with Alex. I think it's one more.
Ms. Spain?
I don't think we should do it. I think that listen, I love what you're doing on this house. I mean, I love the fishtail. But, you know,
Standards are standards.
it wasn't original to the home, and I think we should draw a line at this, but I'm obviously in the minority. You're going to get it, and it'll be beautiful.
You voted yes the last
Garcia
time.
Pons? No comment. My comment is, it's copper. It's going to turn colors. It's not going to look like what you put up. It's going to turn green, or it's going to turn brown, whatever the patina is, so it's not going to match what was there. I understand what you've done, and I think that you should fix the concrete. Okay, I'd like to any further discussion? If not, we're going to close this, and we're going to call for a motion.
I'm not making a motion
Okay,
because
would you like to make a motion? Happy for you to do that.
I'll move
Okay.
it. I'll move that we approve the applicant's application to install a simple copper cap on the chimney.
And that it doesn't turn green or brown or whatever, that it stays.
Is this
the
just
same
on the
color.
cap? Just for the cap?
Just a little,
cylinder,
the cone.
cylinder, right,
Just
like
the
a
cylinder
It's
cap.
not the whole.
No, it's just a little
whole
cone.
shaft.
Well, it
It's just
No, it's the cylinder at the top.
Oh,
It has to
okay.
cover the whole top of
Oh,
the
it's just
ceiling,
up there.
or yeah. This Spain, it has to cover the whole top of that chimney, because otherwise it would leak, okay? And what he's trying to do is to cover that so that there's no future leak, shall we call it. So he's trying to future-proof himself, okay? Yeah.
But it
And in
won't
100
go over
years,
the
people
edge
are
of the
going to think
bricks.
this is original, by the way.
Can,
Mr. Rondo?
Mr. Silva, will you accept a modest proposal that the shop drawings for this wrap be approved or be approved by staff?
It has to be revision to their permit, so.
I'm
Sorry, it has to be a revision to their permit, so it will come to us.
okay.
Ms. Spain, are you going to make the motion, or is Mr.
No.
Silva?
So we have a
made the
motion.
We made it.
Need a second.
We don't have a second yet.
No.
Second.
Okay, second by Ms.
You have a
Rolando.
question?
Okay, call the question.
I thought Ms. Alvarez had a question. No.
Okay. Ms. Alvarez? Okay. Mr. Garcia Pons?
Yes.
Ms. Rolando?
Yes.
Ms. Spain?
I'm going to say no because I know you have this.
Ms. Everett?
You're standing on principle.
Yes. Yeah.
Mr.
Rarely.
Durana?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Maxwell?
No.
Okay, so
Passes, what do we got here? 6-2. Okay, well, good luck on it, and don't let it turn green.
I hope it turns green.
That's the plan.
That's the whole point.
Good luck
It'd be
with
cool
it.
if it turns green.
Okay, ladies and
Sell
gentlemen, we're
things
here
to
a long
drink
time.
with,
It's
by the
5
way.
minutes to 8,
Sell liquid to drink
and I'm sure everyone is hungry. Is there any old business that anyone would like to bring? Ms. Couch?
No, I just asked Stephanie, we'll send you guys an updated email or an email update on the Live Local Act that's going through right now, so you'll get an update on where that stands.
Or the other legislative item we discussed last time.
For what stands?
I'm sure you know, hasn't ended smoothly up in Tallahassee, so we're continuing to monitor the final budgets and actions, but we will continue to update you on those items.
Thank you. Any further discussion, Ms.?
Are we going to be meeting here from now on?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll issue us new parking passes?
We can talk to the clerk's office about that, and separately, while I have to run in a minute, but those of you whose appointed commissioners may have changed, just so you know, you will continue to serve until you're reappointed or there is a replacement. I think it should only be one of you, but I bring that up.
Yes, thank you. So we'll continue to release, so we'll be notified by the next meeting or before? Or thereabouts
Depends on the
sometime?
appointing commissioner.
All right. You'll know, you guys will remember that Mr. Aaron Half hung around for another year or two. So you just never know about these things. Okay, is there any new business that anyone would like to bring? Hearing none, no new business. Any city commission items, discussion items? Call for adjournment? Moved, seconded?
Second.
Done. Thank you all very much.
Happy birthday.
I know.
No, walking on the sidewalk with